Renee. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll say it together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic.
Do you want to call the roll? Councilor Rotundo.
Here.
Councilor Chrysler.
Here.
Councilor Light.
Here.
Councilor Lumen.
If we could have a moment of silence before we continue. Seems like every month we're losing more of our town residents, and this month we lost 3 more. Richard Rawlinson, who lived on Citation Drive, that's right. He passed away on May. Pardon me? Yeah, and Stan, you should be up here because Richard Rawlinson, who lived on Citation Drive, he passed away on May 3rd. Phyllis Stearns, who is the wife of one of our Board of Assessment Review members, she passed away on May 6th. And Gloria Maybe, who just passed away on June 4th. So for those individuals, if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. And I want to welcome everybody. And thanks for coming. Appreciate the turnout and the interest in this issue. I'm assuming most of you are here for the solar energy project. So, but that said, we have a very lengthy board meeting after that. So we are going to get moving right along. And I want to turn the floor over to Councilor Light at this time.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we appoint Dave Angelo to fill the current town board vacancy. Dave and his wife Pam have lived in Pompey for 23 years. They have 3 children. Dave has a very strong educational background with an undergraduate degree in engineering and an MBA. He's had a very distinguished career at Johnson Controls in the area of energy construction projects. Dave lives down in the Preserve, an area that does not currently have board representation. So I think his inclusion would add some very good geographic diversity to the board.
I will second that.
Any discussion, board members?
I think it's a good idea for the north end. I've said that before, they're not represented.
Well, and I know Dave, he's worked with us on the drainage issue in the Preserve. Actually, he's been very a good advocate for his community over there. So I would ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this.
Sure.
It's pretty important.
All right, roll call vote. Supervisor Rotundo.
Aye.
Councilor Christmas.
Aye.
Councilor Light.
Aye.
Councilor Loomis.
I'm gonna abstain.
State a reason for your abstention.
I'm abstaining because I feel especially with the stuff with the solar stuff and that going on now, I believe probably the voters would want to know his opinion on that particular thing before he was particularly put before the board. So I believe the voters should have a chance to have the say in who's in the position versus us just saying it. I'm not against him or for him either way. Yes or no, because I believe that's a really hot topic, and unless he wanted to say his thing, so what? I don't feel comfortable saying yes or no.
So just to be clear, the board has a right to fill vacancies on the town board when one opens up. This position is going to be vacant. If it's filled tonight, the person who fills this vacancy or somebody else will run this year, this fall for a new full two-year term. So
No, 1 year.
1 year term, is it? Okay, so, so I just want to make it clear that the person who is being, whoever it is that gets appointed is entitled to make decisions based on their knowledge of the situation. There's no,
Yeah, if I knew him more personally, I would say yes or no, and I don't, so that's why I just don't feel comfortable saying for sure yes or no. If I had more time to know more about things, I could say yes or no, but at this point, I don't feel comfortable saying yes or no.
right, and when we, of course, you are that.
And it's already,
But
there's already 3 for him, so it really doesn't affect anything.
I
If
just
it
want-
did, I would.
I just want to be clear. I'm a little bit concerned that there's this, the impression that we need to know how someone's going to vote on a particular issue before the board, before we place them into a point. That is really.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't want anybody to think that there's any reason that we would appoint or not appoint somebody based on how they're going to vote on something. My board has absolute autonomy. They can decide how they want to vote on their own.
I fully agree with that.
Right, well, I just don't want
Yeah.
the impression.
Well, I know people might have that thought, so I don't wanna.
Well, we could keep waiting and waiting and waiting on this vacancy till the cows come home, but we need to get somebody on this board. So
That's good.
so there's a motion, a second.
3 ayes and an abstention. So motion carried. So because we need that 5th person on the board and because Dave Angelo is here tonight, I would ask the clerk to swear him in and let him take a seat on this board at this moment. Oh, yep, come on up.
Hi, Dave.
Hi,
I, Dave Angelo,
I, David Angelo,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
do solemnly swear that I will support the
of the
Constitution
United States
of the United
and the
States
Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will be lawfully discharge the duties of
and I will be lawfully discharged the duties of
to fulfill the vacancy of town board counselor
to fulfill the vacancy of the town councilor
through December
Through
31st,
December 31st,
2020.
2023.
I think it's 2022
22.
because we have, there's this.
Oh, they have
It was at the normal end of
2022.
2023, but it's only
Okay.
until the end of this year.
Got it. Thanks.
So.
Thanks. We're gonna use it.
So you need
Welcome
to
aboard,
go
Dave.
around. Yeah,
Okay,
well,
thank
Good
you.
luck.
this is. I'll help you through it. And then, this is this is the file that every board member got on the pivot energy project.
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So the next thing on the agenda is the continued proceedings for the Pivot Energy Sweet Road Tier 3 Solar Project. And I want to defer at some point, or at this point, to Tim, because I do know we need, before we open the hearing, to do we do the seeker first?
Yeah, so I apologize. I will speak as loud as I can. I am following CDC guidelines and wearing a mask tonight, but I will speak as loudly as I can. If you can't hear me, I apologize. Can everybody hear me on the board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the first thing we need to do is, we're going to go through the short or the long and part 2 of the environmental assessment form. The applicant has already filled out part 1, and based on the filling out of part 1, we will go through part 2. But before we do that, at the last meeting, we did not declare ourselves the lead agency for seeker purposes. I thought we had. But if somebody wants to make a motion to declare ourselves lead agency for seeker purposes, that would be appropriate at this time.
I would make a motion that we declare the town County Town Board, lead agency for secret purposes for.
For this local law.
For this.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to get the hang of it.
There you go. Got it. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is, I intend to go through all of the questions of part two. I think there's 17 questions. I don't anticipate that we're going to make a determination tonight on the environmental significance of this project. Because I think there are several of the questions are very easy to answer, and the answer is no, in terms of the impacts. But there are two or three that will, probably you will want to hear from the public to make an ultimate determination as to the environmental impact of this project. So, let's keep in mind what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about changing the zoning for the parcel of property to the, solar project overlay, or the solar overlay district. And, ultimately, the decision on the environmental impact may or may not determine the final decision as to whether or not you'll pass the local law to, designate this property to allow for such a use. So I know that the board is not intending to make a decision tonight on the local law. And before it does that, I think we should probably hear from the public before we make a final determination on the environmental significance of the project also. But I'd at least like to go through with the questions, get responses to it, close down the ones we can close down. And if there are some open ones, we'll keep them open until the next meeting.
And for the public's sake, pay attention, because if there is an open question, it might be something people want to address when we get to the public hearing.
Tim, is this seeker for just the zone change or
Just for the zone change.
project itself?
It's just for the zone change, not the project itself. Now, how could you, the question ultimately is, how can you separate the two? And you probably can't. So the seeker analysis, the seeker analysis has to be really on what are the impacts of putting us, because there's only one choice here, right? If we change the zoning, or if this board changes the zoning, it will allow a solar farm on this property.
Becomes an.
That's the only thing it would allow on this property, other than the underlying use, which is an agricultural use. So technically, it's really on the zone change, but as a practical matter, you can't make an environmental determination on the zone change without understanding the impacts of a solar farm on this site.
Yeah, it may not be this particular solar farm, but it would be in general. It becomes an as of right use.
Exactly. Okay, does everybody understand that? All right,
For those just in the back that don't know who's talking, it's John Dunkel, our engineer,
that's John Dunkel, I'm Tim Protesti.
and Protesti, our town attorney. And you all know Tom Chartrand. So do we need to look at part one at all?
No, we don't need to look at part one.
We can just.
The applicant has provided us with the information of part one. So I think that we can go to part two and go through these sections and answer the questions. And then once we're done with that, there will be a couple open questions, and then we can open up the public hearing so the public can determine, make their comments about the project. I don't know if the applicant is going to give an overview of it before that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the first question is, deals with impacts on land, because we're considering a zone change of 20 acres or more. It is a type 1 action, so we should note that for the record. Impacts on land. Will the proposed action involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? The answer, of course, is yes, it will. Ultimately, the question is what kind of impact on the land is it going to actually have? As I understand it, it's going to be minimal impacts on the surface of the property. There's going to, how do you have any idea how much acreage is going to be affected?
Permanently disturbed?
Yes.
We have not, since we're really in a conceptual stage, we haven't done a detailed civil plan set that would ultimately be submitted to the planning board where some of those grading calculations would be done.
Okay. But if we went through that, let's assume it's yes. Let's go through the rest of the questions. Well, determine what the detail of that yes is going to be. Will it have no or small impact or moderate to large? The proposed action may involve the construction on land where depths of water table is less than 3 feet. This project is not going to affect any water tables because there's going to be no digging deeper than a couple of feet, if at all. So the answer to that is no to small. John, jump in if you feel, anybody else jump in if you disagree with this analysis. The proposed action may involve the construction on slopes of 15% or greater. I think the answer to that is no. Proposed action may involve the construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface. We don't have any evidence of that. The proposed action may involve the excavation or removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. That's not the case. Proposed action may involve the construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. That is not the understanding. It's not going to be done. It's going to be done in
Approximately 4 months.
4 months. Okay. Proposed action may result in an increased erosion whether from physical disturbance or vegetation. Again, there's going to be very little removal of surface area or land. Do you have any questions? Is that
Can I, so there is not a concern about that one,
about
about erosion?
the proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal? There's going to be very little
Okay.
Have
disturbance.
you consider trees vegetation?
Hold on.
Wait, no, you're not good. No.
Well, we're going through a process to determine the environmental significance of this project. This is the board's decision. And ultimately, when you have an opportunity to speak during the public hearing, if you want to raise questions or make comments, you could feel free to do that.
I would say yes, it does have the potential to cause erosion and they are removing some trees.
Okay, is that a no or small impact or a moderate to large impact? Or
Possible.
We will be swift
Yes, so
erosion control.
it will be mitigatable.
okay,
So then is that considered small impact?
Generally.
So I would,
no or
does the board
small.
agree? Small impact?
Okay, the proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area. The answer to that is no. Okay, so let's move on to question number 2. Impact on geological features. Proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, and caves. There's no evidence of that. The answer to that is no. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. The answer to that is no. Impacts on groundwater. The proposed action may result in a new or additional use of groundwater, or it may have the potential to introduce contamination to groundwater or aquifer. Anybody have any issues with that? There's no evidence of that that's been presented. Impacts on flooding. The proposed action may result in the development of land subject to flooding. Board, is there any concern about that?
No, not.
This is I think it's a 21-acre site on a 96-acre place.
And I don't need to go back, but I'm going to. Where we talked about wetlands.
Surface water. Is that one you're talking about?
No, where was it? About wetlands?
Yeah, that's
I just
Number
wondered,
3.
I know that the site is not involving wetlands, but it's
near it.
near wetlands, so I don't know whether. So if it's not, if the site is not. Number three, sorry, I should have brought it up when.
I mean, it's kind of, it may be yes or no that way, right, it might, you never start to.
Well,
Do you think?
What's the wording of it?
Says The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. There's, how is it
There's
going to
not any
affect the
other
wetlands?
surface water bodies that I know of, other than the wetlands, and I know that
If there were wetlands on the site, a stream on the site, or a pond or lake, then you would answer yes.
but
That's a yes.
there isn't.
There isn't.
Not on
There
the,
is down behind it, right?
but it's not part of the project
Okay.
site.
And
That's why I have a
Is that,
question.
is that why, is it part of the, of this zone change site, or is it just part of right where the proposed solar panels are?
I know they're avoiding
Wetlands.
disturbance. But what's the zone change? It's for the whole parcel?
it's for,
Yes.
yes, the whole.
And then you better answer yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so number three, we're gonna change from no to yes. Proposed action may create a new water body? No. Proposed action may result in an increase and a decrease of over 10% or more than a 10 acre increase or decrease in the surface of any body of water? No. Proposed action may involve dredging of more than 100 cubic yards of material from a wetland or a water body? No. Proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland or in the bed or bank of any other water body? No. Proposed action may create turbidity in a water body, either from the upland erosion, runoff, or disturbing bottom sediments?
It has a potential. That would be the same erosion question. If there's a wetland on the site, the disturbance could theoretically generate sediment to be transported to the water.
Okay,
But the erosion controls that are part of the project.
all right, so we're gonna say no or small impact with mitigation
Yeah, the key is mitigation. If there's a potential impact,
from
is it or will it be mitigated?
stormwater pollution prevention plan. The proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from surface water. No. Proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface water. No. Proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies.
Yeah, that's what we just.
So is that small with mitigation?
Maybe. We have a copy.
Oh, sorry.
I can, hang on.
Thought I gave you one, John.
Wasn't in the folder.
Proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action.
Yeah, it has the potential. But mitigation.
Proposed action may involve the application of pesticides or herbicides in an area of near a water body. No.
Will that be part of the O and M plan?
Typically, we with a selective herbicide application. It could be conditioned with approval of the town or something like that.
So that's a yes.
Then the question becomes no or moderate to large impact.
So essentially in their O and M plan for vegetation maintenance under and around the solar panels, we're going to use herbicides to control the growth.
Okay.
Can that be mitigated or limited to a point where it's no more impact than what farmers would do on the agriculture use of that land? Probably, yes.
And I will say our O&M plan specifies during construction and post-construction to establish the native pollinator habitat. That's the only time where it's conditionally used. If there are noxious weeds, the invasive species that were really persistent and hard to get rid of through mechanical means.
Okay, and the proposed action may require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities. So while it will have an impact, it may have an impact on surface water, the impacts will be small or will be no or small impacts.
Back to 7.
Okay, sorry. I should have done it when you're going too fast. My brain didn't think about fast enough.
6.
Impacts on air, number 6, is that where we're at?
Impacts on air. Proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. And so that is no. Impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna.
There's gonna be some trees removed.
Okay, so let's start with yes.
There's also this long-eared bat
That's.
that
That
was
is a,
mentioned.
yeah, that's a different, that.
Is that a
there-
different
there's a-
section?
No, that's a potential impact, and we'll get to that in this.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So A, the proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individual of any threatened or endangered species as listed on the New York State federal government use site, and the only one that was mentioned was long-eared bat. And that is because of the roosting of the long-eared bat. And if there were going to be trees taken down, they'd have to be taken down from October
November through
through November through
March.
through March. So the answer is, it may have an impact, but that can be mitigated through the requirements of the DEC. Proposed action may result in a reduction in degradation in the habitat used by rare, threatened, endangered species as listed on state or federal government. The same answer. Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individual of any species of special concern or conservation need as listed in the New York State or the federal government that use the site or are found on or over near the site. Again, the same answer is A, B, and C. The proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any species of special concern and conservation needs as listed by New York State or federal government. The only one we're aware of is long-eared bat, as we've been discussing. Proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered national natural landmark to support a biological community it has established to protect. The answer to that is none known, no. The proposed action may result in the removal of or ground disturbance in any portion of a designated significant natural community. We don't have any evidence that this is a significant natural community. The proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for predominant species that occur or use this project site. We're not aware of any of that. It's not been provided in part one. Proposed action requires the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, grasslands, or other regionally or locally important habitat. The answer to that is no. Proposed action involves use of herbicides or pesticides. Again, we just discussed that issue. And we'll say that the applicant has a O&M plan that is going to provide this board with information on the use of pesticides and herbicides. And then you can make a determination on that. Okay, impacts on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact agricultural resources. The answer to that is yes. Proposed action may impact soil classified with soil group 1 through 4 of the New York State land classified system. And the answer to that is yes. You think that is a low to small or a moderate to large impact?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Moderate would seem.
Moderate
Yeah,
to large?
Has the potential.
Has a potential to be a moderate to large. Proposed action may sever, cross, or otherwise limit access to agricultural land. Proposed action may sever, cross, or otherwise limit access to other agricultural land.
Access to agricultural land. Is it talking about the land that's part of this?
No, I think it means any other.
Other
agricultural land,
parcels? I don't think it does either.
yeah. No to small. Proposed action may result in excavation or compaction of the soil profile of an active agricultural land. The answer to that is no.
Hang on, they're gonna be building some roads and there'll be temporary construction action.
compaction of soil profile of active agricultural lands. Okay, so is that, so we've answered the question, yes, it will have an impact. The question, the ultimate question is, it will be a no to small impact or a moderate to large impact.
We do provide a decommissioning plan,
Yes,
and then the ag and markets has, since it's in agricultural,
I was gonna get there. So there is, we will require in the decommissioning plan that soils be restored in accordance to agricultural standards. They're fluffed back up, there's organics added if necessary, and the chemical makeup of the land prior to the project is reinstated, and that'll be all part of a decommissioning plan that you guys will consider.
What are these going to?
So there's a potential impact, but it's also potentially mitigated.
Okay. The proposed action may irreversibly convert agricultural land to non-agricultural land uses. Either more than 5.5 acres is located in an agricultural district or more than 10 acres if not within the agricultural district. I don't think it's irreversible. Proposed action may disrupt or prevent installation of an agricultural land management system. Let me read it again. The proposed action may disrupt or prevent installation of an agricultural land management system. I don't know that there's one on that site.
Those are things like drain tiles or manure management
No,
activity.
No or small impact.
yes.
The proposed action may result directly or indirectly in increased development potential or pressure on farmland.
Well, it's not gonna increase development potential, but that's what pressure on farming. You know what I mean? I mean, it actually decreases development potential.
Right. So we'll go no and no to small on this one. The proposed project is not consistent with the adopted municipal farmland protection plan. No, I don't think, we don't have.
We don't have one. We have a master plan that talks about, agricultural farmland and protection of that, but it also talks about several other priorities, so no. I
Okay.
would say that's no.
So the next question, impact on aesthetic resources, the land use proposed acts are obviously different from, or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. So let's go through some of the questions just to give us a sense of what they're talking about when they talk about scenic or aesthetic resources. Proposed action may be visible from an officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. I don't think that's the case. Proposed action may result in obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views.
No,
That's not the case. Proposed action may be visible.
if you have a question, James,
No.
ask it. Oh, okay.
We're no.
Sorry, don't need to, but
The proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points seasonally, screened by summer foliage, or year-round. Publicly accessible vantage points. I don't think there are any publicly accessible vantage
Yes,
points.
there would, Sweet Road would be considered public.
But are they talking about accessible vantage points being a road?
hey, guys,
Yeah.
please,
Okay,
we want to get through this because we're only on page 6 of 10, and I know you're all here to talk, so let us get through this.
all right, so the answer is yes. No. And then this one would be seasonally or year-round. So we're saying it will have a year-round impact on seasonally, on year-round visible, public accessible vantage points. All right, well, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of looking into that to see
What the threshold.
what is a accessible vantage point? Based on the other questions.
Right.
It would be some kind of
Scenic overlook.
scenic overlook type situation. But let's go to the next question. The situation or activity in which the viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work. So that would be the answer to that question.
That kicks it back.
And so the answer to that is yes. Recreational or tourism-based activities. I think that's the case. Proposed action may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource.
What's the designated
There is the
aesthetic?
word designated.
Yeah, what is that?
There is nothing.
Nothing designated.
That's what I
You
was.
don't have any
asking.
scenic overlays in your.
No. No, we have view shed maps, but we don't have anything that says this is a designated view.
There are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project. 0 to half a mile to third, 3 to 5 miles, and 5+ miles.
So when they say similar projects, the telecommunications overlay is up there. So does that, is that considered similar?
Good question.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a man-made structure,
Yep.
otherwise
Right.
natural
And it was farmland.
agricultural. setting.
All right, so we're gonna go with moderate.
Yeah.
Large impact on that because it has, because you would have two similar type situations within 5 miles of each other.
Yeah.
Okay, impact on historic and archaeological resources. Both action may occur in an adjacent historical or a archaeological resource. And the answer is no.
Not in an archaeologically sensitive area.
It says that the county planning says it's adjacent. The site or a portion of it is located in or adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites.
We
I
we did get a clearance letter from SHPO, I believe.
They have a no impact letter already.
Okay,
I'll confirm and send it.
okay. So that's no. That moves us along, folks, so anytime we say no.
Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction in open space resources as designated in any adapted municipal open space plan. No.
Mm-mm.
Impact on critical environmental areas. We do not have any designated critical environmental areas in the plan. Okay. That's on transportation. Will change transportation systems. The answer to that is no. Impact on energy. That's an interesting question. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy.
You're generating energy.
You're literally generating energy,
Right.
so, an increase in the use of energy of any form.
Are they, is that meant to say we're using up energy
Yes,
versus
using more energy.
producing?
Right.
If you look at the questions, none of
It-
them
what-
come close to it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a no.
All right.
I think it's a no, based on the other question.
Well, yeah, I disagree. If you look at 14A, there is gonna be electrical impact, right?
The upgraded, the proposed action will require new or an upgrade to an existing substation.
No,
I don't
No.
think so.
we're not upgrading the substation. We're
You got an approval from
Yes.
whatever regulating agencies there are.
from National Grid. We have interconnection approval, yes, to tie in on the existing distribution line on Sweet Road.
Okay.
I could send the study to you all.
Okay.
Agreed.
Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odor, or outdoor lighting. The answer to that is no.
I would say yes, the temporary impact during construction.
Okay, the proposed action may produce sound and visual established by local regulation. Proposed action may result in blast. Again, we have to go to those questions. I mean, when you say temporary, that goes to the issue that we reviewed in the phasing of the project, which would be no more than
Section is that.
the phasing. The proposed action may involve the construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. We've already said that if it did have that, that would be a significant impact. We've been told that this is by the applicant, less than about a 4-month process. So I think there may be temporary, but if you want to answer yes to that, we have to go to
Put it
the
under,
questions.
put it under the other impacts, temporary construction.
Proposed action may be sound above noise levels established by local regulation. We don't have, we have a noise ordinance?
We don't have.
We don't have a noise ordinance, so the answer is that's no. Proposed action may result in a blasting, that's no. Proposed action may result in routine odors for more than 1 hour per day. That is no. Proposed action may result in light shining on adjoining properties. That is no. Proposed action may result in lighting, creating sky glow brighter than existing area condition. The answer to that is no. So did everybody agree that the impact on noise, light and odor is
No.
minimal?
No. Yeah.
Okay, 2 more. Proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contamination. There is no
I was
evidence.
starting to look through these questions, these others, stuff. Not remediation, that's still remediation.
Tim, do you want to do what you did last time? Let's just read through the questions. 'Cause I don't know.
Sure.
I haven't pre-read it.
Yep, the proposed action is located within 1,500 feet of a school, hospital, licensed daycare. No. The site of the proposed action is currently undergoing remediation. No. There is a completed energy spill remediation or completed environmental site remediation adjacent to the site. The answer to that is no. The site of the action is subject to institutional control limiting the use of the property, easements or deed restrictions. The answer to that is no. Proposed action may affect institutional control measures that were put in place to ensure that the site remains protected for environmental and human health. The answer to that is no. Proposed action has adequate control measures in place to ensure that future generations' treatment and disposal of hazardous waste will be protective of the environment and human health. The answer to that is no. Proposed action involves construction of modification of a solid waste management facility? No. Proposed action may result in an unearthing of solid or hazardous waste? No. Proposed action may result in an increase in the rate of disposal or processing of solid waste? No. Proposed action may result in an excavation or disturbance of within 2,000 feet of a site used for the disposal of solid or hazardous waste? No. Proposed action may result in the migration of explosive gases from a landfill site to adjacent off-site structures? No. Proposed action may result in the release of contaminated leachate from the project site. Answer is no. So based on those sub-questions, I think the answer to that is no. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
This is 2 questions. Consistency with community plans. Proposed action is not consistent with an adapted land use plan. We don't,
We have a master plan,
yeah, and
but it gives equal weight to many of the priorities that are at issue here. I mean, it doesn't single one out, so I don't know if that is helpful in deciding that.
well, this question and the next question are things we should go through.
I think so too.
Okay, so we're gonna say yes.
Okay.
The proposed action, land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to current surrounding land use patterns.
Yes.
So you would say moderate to large impact on that? The proposed action will cause the permanent population of the city, town, or village in which the project is located to grow by more than 20%. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with local land use plans or zoning regulations. We allow such zone change in this town. So it is not inconsistent with that. But that's the ultimate question we will have to answer. The proposed action is inconsistent with any county plans or other land use plans. I would suggest that it's not inconsistent with the state or county plan to encourage renewable energy, which we have discussed in the past. Proposed action may cause a change in the density of development that is not supported by existing infrastructure or is distant from existing infrastructure. The answer to that is no. Proposed action is located in an area characterized by low density development that will require new or expanded public infrastructure. No. And then the proposed action may induce secondary development impacts residential or commercial. That is actually, it would have the opposite effect on that. The answer to that is no. Finally, 18, consistency with community character. Proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character.
I would say yes.
Yes, say it. Okay, so let's go with yes, so let's answer those questions to see whether it's no or small or moderate to large. The proposed action may replace or eliminate existing facilities, structures, or areas of historic importance to the community. The answer to that is no.
No.
May create a demand for additional community services. No. May displace affordable or low-income housing. No. Interfere with or use of enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architecture of scale of the character and character. The proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architecture scale and character
Of what?
of the community.
Community? Well, different, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call it architecture, but
I think the next one.
Proposed action is inconsistent with the character of existing natural landscape.
that one,
That would be moderate to large.
E is
Yeah.
no, and and F is yes.
Okay. All right, so having gone through part 2.
Tim, can I just?
Yes.
I think it's question 15. Just on light. I know this is more oriented towards light at night, but what about glare?
This doesn't speak of glare, it speaks of specific lights. That would be.
It doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply. And that will definitely be an issue
We will request a glare study anyway.
Okay,
if the zone change
I'm good.
went through, then glare will be a significant issue.
Along those lines, I have another question. And I don't know how this impacts any kind of airplane flight lines, flight path. Do we have to take that into consideration with respect to the?
No, that would be an FAA issue that would. I am not aware of any FAA regulation that would restrict solar farms.
And we will file.
They file with FAA anyway for that assessment. They do, FAA does look at these farms for glare analysis.
Assuming that the board went forward and approved that would be.
So
So-
the sections that we, I'm sorry, that we've answered no to, we're good with,
Yeah, we
so
could,
to speak, but the ones that we've answered yes to are the ones that we'll hold in abeyance until the end of the hearing, whenever. that
well,
is.
until at least the next meeting, because
Yeah.
I want to be able to do some research on this.
Yeah.
I want to check with John and we can work through some of these questions to make sure we have all the answers to the questions that are being raised. And we will have a determination at the next board.
Okay.
So one real general question. I mean, I think everybody answered this to the best of their abilities from a board perspective.
Yeah.
I have no idea where is this project already designed? Is the site civil plan all done? Everything done?
Not at all. We're from our perspective, we're still very early in the permitting process and working through the overlay district request and not have a formal civil plan until we're in the site special use permit application process with the planning board.
So so for purposes of the board, even though you're an engineer,
Right.
that's great. And you can use your expertise in that field to answer the questions that we answered tonight. But your responsibility is to determine these questions based on your, office as a board member, as a layman, and make a determination that as to the environmental impact of a project like this on your community.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't need the detailed engineering plans to make the ultimate decision of, are we, the town board of the town of Pompey, going to allow the use being proposed on this site?
Gotcha. Thanks.
So I'm done talking for the rest of the night.
Oh, so you think. So the next thing I would just mention is that we did get comments back on this project from county planning. They're in your folders. And from the Environmental Conservation Commission. Question I have is, why did we get two resolutions from county planning?
Same.
They're almost the same except for the first two paragraphs. And so it just was odd that they felt the need. I don't really understand why there's two.
One says the zone change and one is the local law, which is kind of the same.
That's the
That's
same
what I
thing.
mean.
Yeah, it's the
So
same
it's
thing.
it's confusing to me, but
I sent them one application and they gave me two responses.
okay, well, whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that issue then. So that, I just wondered if we're missing something. But the county planning did come back with comments. That they determined that the referral has no significant adverse inter-community or county-wide implications, but it's offered the following comments, and I'm gonna read it just because I think everybody here should hear it. While below the parcel thresholds established in the local law, the entirety of the project area to be affected by the solar project appears to contain prime agricultural soils. The installation of solar energy systems on active or prime farmland should be designed to minimize disruption to existing and future agricultural operations by avoiding configurations that fragment farm fields and production, siting solar systems in more remote areas with marginal soils and less productive lands, minimizing disturbance of topsoil, soil erosion, and compaction during construction, requiring maintenance and reuse of disturbed topsoil on the same site, planting pollinator-friendly and native species between solar panels, using lands around solar panels as pasture for grazing, installing ground-mounted solar systems that do not require footings, allowing for small animal movement through fencing, and avoiding nearby wetlands or floodplains. And then they just also acknowledge that this is a type 1 seeker action with zone change. So that came from the county planning board. We also got a very nice detailed response from our Environmental Conservation Commission with their concerns relative to the environmental impacts on this. It's lengthy, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but their concerns are with the wetlands, making sure that the wetlands that are part of that northwest corner are not far enough away from the project. They're saying that, you know, without the view shed assessment, it makes it hard for them to determine a position on view shed. And Adam's here from, well, and so is Kathy. So if I say it wrong, you guys can. Oh, Martha's there too. Okay. They're also focused on the vegetative buffers to make sure that there's sufficient detail to assess the effectiveness of the buffers and the screenings. Fencing. They feel like there should be additional information to understand the full aesthetic impact of the project fencing plan, including a clear definition of agricultural style fencing. And then solar panel maintenance concerns with if panels are broken that might contain contaminants and what the maintenance plan would be to clean those up. These will go on the website, so if you want to read them in their entirety, I'm not gonna, it's already an hour after we started, so I'm not gonna belabor that, but we'll put them on the website. Most of the EEC, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to be like if it ever got to a planning board. Site plan, those would be addressed by the site plan. So, but thank you for the input, valuable. Okay. So first of all, Gordon has, I don't know how long your presentation is.
I'll try to make it quick, given
I know.
the focus probably on public comment.
I just want to tell everybody, this is not going to be a marathon. We are not going to be here all night. We will end it at some point, whether everybody gets to speak or not, and we will continue it at another time. I am not going to exhaust everybody in this room. There's too much at stake. Too many people want to be heard. Everybody needs to have the opportunity. So that's how I intend to, but I'll talk about the rules in a minute. So if you would like to present, this is Gordon Woodcock from Pivot Energy. He's been with the project.
I always forget to eat before these, so,
I can click for you or,
if it's okay, I'll just
yeah,
wait.
hopefully it will
Be even
be
faster.
not temperamental for you.
Hmm. Yep, we can get it on that screen.
Probably
There
fell
we go.
asleep after all this time.
Yep, great. Okay, so again, my name is Gordon Woodcock, work with Pivot Energy. And we're the company proposing the project here in Pompey. I know we do want to have a lot of public comment, but I just want to run through company background, a little bit about Pivot, a little bit about community solar, and then some information on the project itself. So Pivot was founded in 2009, headquarters in Denver, Colorado, but we're active across the United States. We're a certified B Corporation. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. And we're working on projects including behind the meter, servicing commercial and industrial clients, feeding energy loads on site, commercial projects like that, community solar projects like this one where we're providing energy for offsite users, and even utility scale projects like some of the larger ones you're probably starting to hear about. And we're active in everything from early stages, permitting and development through financing, and including owning and operating the projects. So a lot of projects, again, nationwide, full service provider. We're active in all the major community solar markets across the United States. In New York specifically, we have about 76 megawatts currently in development, or 19 projects across the state, Western New York, upstate, North Country. And this will be available for people to view afterwards. Is it going to be publicly available? It's
I
fine.
absolutely can put it on the website. So
Okay. So don't have to read everything here. People, if they want to download it and look at it later, of course, welcome to, but just emphasizing, some examples of projects we work on, feeding loads on site, like at a warehouse or industrial facility, offsite solar, like community solar, and then utility scale projects as well. I do want to focus on this just a little bit more. We have our sustainability report for last year back there on the table. We're a certified B Corporation, which means that we go through a pretty rigorous certification process to document our practices, showing that we do more than just focus on profit as a business motive. We're environmentally motivated. We're trying to make right decisions that take a more holistic approach to business decisions. It's not just about making money, it's about trying to do the right thing. And this provides a little more information about that. One example of it is working within the communities where we're active, having tours with the technical schools. So the workers of tomorrow can get on site and see what goes into building a solar project, providing internship opportunities and scholarships, donating to the towns that we work in to make sure that we're being a good partner and working well with those communities. At this point, most people probably understand community solar, but a quick refresher. Site gets built, interconnected with the utility. They measure and monitor the energy that's produced. That energy gets allocated to people who sign up and say, hey, I want to support the project. I want to offset my energy bill and get a discount on my bill by participating. So it's a pretty well-defined process within New York State and other states as well. And this is something else that I think is important because we get asked a lot, well, why can't we just put them all over the rooftops? I mean, there's all these open rooftops. And that's true, there are. But there's reasons why we can't just put them on every rooftop. Sometimes it's shading, sometimes structurally it's not sound enough. Or it's an older roof. Maybe it's a renter, somebody who doesn't own the home and can't install a solar array, or they're a low to moderate income person who can't realize some of the benefits that come from owning a system. So in that context, community solar allows them to benefit from and participate in the changes that are coming into our utility system with community solar. So it kind of fills a very important gap between the homeowners that have the resources or the businesses that have the resources and the wherewithal to install a system on their own, or a big, 500 acre, 1,000 acre utility scale project that's feeding right into the transmission network. These community solar projects allow individuals and businesses to participate and be a part of the renewable energy transition. And briefly, just some of the impacts that come with community solar is allowing those people to participate, some of the jobs that get created, and it is a meaningful contribution to our energy production. There are significant reductions in pollution that come from aggregating all of these projects. So I think New York just passed the 1 gigawatt installed threshold, which would be about 200 of the projects that we're talking about in Pompey. So individually, they're kind of small, right? But in aggregate, collectively, they provide a significant impact to the state. Something that's come up relatively recently in the last couple of years is this concept of agrivoltaics. If you looked at an installation from, say, 10 years ago, it would probably look similar to the landscaping or conditions around a utility substation, chain link fence, base course or gravel surrounding it. Really wouldn't have much other use besides being a substation or a solar array. What's happened recently is we've become aware that you can do more than just install a solar project and generate energy. This concept of agrivoltaics or dual use is basically saying, look, we can grow pollinator habitat, we can graze sheep underneath the array, we can do a lot of good things that are complementary in nature and actually in the long run result in increased soil quality and a healthier site overall. So there's a lot of beneficial uses and combinations, and this is still developing. We've just been, as an industry, working on this for the last couple of years. So just reinforcing opportunities, educational opportunities. There's partnerships between, the people practicing animal husbandry and the solar projects where we can work together and benefit each other. And again, studies have come out recently showing that with pollinator habitat and sheep grazing specifically on site, you result in greater sequestration of carbon in the soil and in fact increased nutrients over the life of the product where you're regenerating, rebuilding the soil. So we can look at this project specifically now, and here's some photographs, kind of representative woven wire ag style fence. What we use and what we've proposed here is a single axis tracker, meaning the array follows the path of the sun from east to west each day, which increases energy production on the site. The solar panels themselves are low profile, it's quiet, it's not releasing a lot of really any pollution or smoke when it's generating electricity. And it's tied right into the distribution line. So we're feeding really local loads, regional loads, not tying into the transmission system, that bulk transmission system where energy gets dispatched across the state and even beyond. So this is maybe not quite big enough, but this is a revised layout. What was originally proposed, we were utilizing more of the area, I guess, closer to Sweet Road, and given some feedback we've received from the town, from landowners, and from our landowner, Bill Osikowski, we've modified the layout. So we've shifted a big chunk of the array to that north area where it's becoming less viable. It's getting a lot of runoff from a recently installed culvert. And we've shifted things away from Street Road and farther away from the adjacent landowner to try to minimize some of the impacts associated with that. So you can see the wetland boundary that's the wetland mapping, and we're looking at refining that with some field visits, delineations to get even more accurate data as far as where the wetlands actually are. But we've been able to shift the array out of the area closest to Sweet Road and compress things a little bit. And this is the preliminary view shed analysis that we've done. So for people that haven't seen this and just to refresh everyone's understanding of it, what we're showing here is the project site. And where it's visible within a 1 mile radius. So areas in purple are where the project would be visible. So of course, the deepest areas are, the denser areas of purple are right where the project is and adjacent to it. You head up north to where the radio towers are, it's pretty visible there. A little bit to the south on some of the adjacent parcels potentially. And this is simulated without any additional screening. This is leaf off, meaning wintertime conditions when the project's most visible. And then heading a little bit farther south towards Heritage Hill, we thought there might be some visibility potentially from farther south there. So in combination with that, once we've done the view shed analysis, which is basically saying, where do we think the project's visible from? The next step is to do some photorealistic simulations. We picked a couple of sites initially to try and give a better understanding of what it might look like. And so these are also full-size posters in the back of the room. But what we're seeing here is in the upper left corner, the view shed, next to it, the view angle. So that kind of cone is saying, okay, we're at Heritage Hill and we're looking north towards the project site. And while in the view shed evaluation, it indicated there may be some visibility because of the growth of the trees and the location. What you see here is that the project's not visible from Heritage Hill. There may be some other locations that are worth investigating to see where the project's visible from, but Heritage Hill, that orange line in the pictures that are on the bottom of the slide, that's the project location. That orange line is sort of the wireframe of where the project is relative to this viewing location. Now here is Sweet Road, and we took two models from Sweet Road right across from the project, where of course it is visible. This one's looking south. And so in the lower left corner, you can see what it would look like. And this is in fact exaggerated impacts compared to what the new layout is. We've shifted farther away from Sweet Road. But for this simulation, it's an exaggerated impact. The project's 100 feet or so from Sweet Road. You can see in the lower left corner what the panels look like without any vegetative screening. And then adjacent to that, on the bottom right corner, you can see what it looks like after 5 to 7 years of growth from the screening. And this is actually looking north on Sweet Road, where we put some panels just to simulate what it would look like there. Same thing, lower left, no screening, lower right with the vegetative screening in place. Economic impacts, the big one is the tax payments. And this is not to say that we have any formal agreement in place. This is just based on publicly available information that the Onondaga County IDA has put out there, and agreements for similar projects where if we back into what this project would pay over the life of the system using similar terms, it would be about $680,000 in tax revenue for town, county, and school district. And again, that's indicative. There's nothing that's finalized. There's no discussions, in fact, that have been had at all. But were we to hold similar terms to what other projects have seen, that's what you would see. Construction labor, like we talked about, it's about 4 months construction for a project like this. Our contractors utilize utility, civil, and electrical contractors. So we'll work with the local shops to use civil and electrical contractors to build a project. We'll also do general temp labor for general construction, work with the IDA to try and find people that are interested in that kind of work, although I know there's not a whole lot of employment, it seems like right now, or not a whole lot of people looking for employment. And then some long-term operations and maintenance work, which is relatively modest compared to the construction activity. We've talked about this a little bit, but just reinforce the native pollinator habitat. Planting grasses and forbs actually build stronger soil, providing pollinator habitat, not just for like honeybees, but all the pollinators that are important to the agricultural operations in a town like Pompey. And then here's some other representative sites. You kind of got a ranch style fence there on the right, and then some other pollinator friendly habitat with the tracker on the left side of the screen there. Here's my contact information. Certainly open to one-on-one or group discussions. Do you have questions about the project or what we're proposing here? And I think that wraps it up.
Thanks, Gordon. Okay. So I think we're at the point where most of you came here for, which is the public hearing. And so before we open it, make a motion to open it, I'd like to just establish some ground rules so that we're all understanding how this is gonna go. Yes, the comments will be directed to the board, not to each other, not to somebody else in the audience. So, and if you have a question of someone other than the board, please ask it of me and I will make sure that either Tim or John, what else was I thinking? Anyway, can answer, or Gordon, that's what it is. In order to be fair, because we want to hear from everybody. Stan, can you hear me?
I got my hearing aids on. Hi.
Okay.
And I barely can hear it, but I hear it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wish you were up front. Anybody that
I
has,
know, but
I know you don't want to come up here. So, because we want to hear from everybody and to keep it fair, you're going to have 3 minutes. So think about what you want to say in 3 minutes time. And that's just fair to everybody. It's not fair to let somebody go on and then somebody else only has a couple. So we're going to limit it to 3. Veronica has the timer, little,
I do.
yes, you do. She doesn't know she does.
I saw that and I was like, what is this for?
That's 3 minutes.
That's 3 minutes?
Yes.
Did someone find it?
Response to the board. Because you have 3 minutes to talk. 3 minutes, okay? We're gonna go for an hour. And we're gonna see where we're at an hour. If we want to go for another half an hour, we will. We are not going longer than an hour and a half. It's just too much for everybody. It's just a lot. Look at what time it is already. So, what I would ask everyone to do is please respect each other. We are all gonna have different opinions on this. We are all here to figure this out. This is not an us against them. This is a we, okay? So I would really hope that at the end of this, there might be some common ground that we can come to find. So that would be that's my hope. I know there are different points of view here. We don't need to get angry about it but I would ask you to speak loudly because in order for people here to hear, we can't have a microphone in this room or else people online can't hear. So we have to balance it out. So please speak loudly. What I'd like to do, unless somebody has a better idea, is so we can keep some order to this, is we'll have people that are in favor of either the project or solar in general or whatever, or maybe haven't made up their mind or whatever, go first. Then we'll have people that are opposed or again, haven't made up their mind but are leaning that way, go second. And then we will allow for some rebuttal or time for either the property owner, if he has anything he would like to add, or from Gordon himself. We are here to listen, okay? We are not here to give you our opinions. We are here to understand what it is this community wants. And the only way we're going to find it out is if we have this discourse. So I want it to be civil. I want us all to be able to speak our minds and know everybody's opinion will be respected, right, board members? Right?
Yes.
So now that you put the chairs here, that's made it difficult. I would really like there to be one place where people go to stand because I don't know where that would be now.
Yeah.
We could move some, okay. The only other thing while the chairs are. No, because I don't know if there has been, no, because, so let me just, the one thing I would ask too, I know some of you might be of the same opinion. If somebody has already given 3 minutes, that's the same thing you're going to say. If you just would want to say, I agree with Adam, or I agree with Barb, or whatever, just so that we're not,
Have to be at least up here to get on camera.
okay. Okay, John.
There you go.
So you got to stand close to the plant, okay? So, and we also have virtual attendees. So, in addition to running the little, hourglass down there, Veronica's going to have to monitor, our online attendees. Hold on a second, to make sure that, we intersperse everybody here with the people that are online. They can be unmuted, correct, if they choose to, or they can just,
If they raise their hands and let me know that they want to be unmuted,
yes.
then.
So-
they can unmute.
The equal pro and con time? Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not, it's just gonna go as long, but we're only going for an hour and a half tonight, so it might, depending on where we're at, it might take longer. So, the other thing everyone needs to do is give their name and their address when they speak, so that we know you're a Pompey resident and that you, and where you're from. I think that's all I have. I saw a hand. No. Kathy,
Do we have a list?
we don't have a list because I didn't want people to feel compelled to sign up for like a yes or a no. There is. We'll bring it here. Well, I don't, it might have been for public comment, because that's the list that I put over there. I purposefully didn't put a public hearing list up. But I have a feeling some of these people are here to speak on what Gordon signed in. Okay, so that's my process, but I'm not sure how, what I would like to do is have someone start who wants to speak in favor of the project, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll just keep taking people until we've had everybody that wants to speak in favor, and then we'll switch. And we'll have people that want to speak against. Kathy?
Is the board accepting written comments?
Yes, and I have a couple that will need to be read into the record, but yes.
Okay, so no need to speak.
You don't have to speak, you can simply submit. If you have a written statement, and you want to submit it, that's fine. We will definitely consider it. You will not, if you stand up and say, I agree with, I'm just keep using you, Barb, because you're sitting right there. A Barb, I think the board will be very grateful. You're not just, repeating, and we can move this along. You will have no less impact than if you said your whole piece. Anyway, but feel free to say your whole piece if that's what you choose to do. I don't want.
Written statements later? I mean, could we submit them tomorrow or the next day?
Yes, because I doubt we're going to be done tonight, given the size of the audience here, and I have a feeling there's people online. So yes, we will allow time for people to.
We could just go in order down through the chairs that way too. I'm just another possibility.
I just want to, yeah, and it's fine. I mean, I just want there to be some order to the process so that we're not just simply going back and forth. I think it might be helpful, and
How about one pro, one con, one pro, one con? That seems fair to me.
what?
Yeah, just go down the road.
It's really not easy for Nikki to be able to, if she's trying to keep, it's just,
It's easier if I know. It's easier
yeah,
for
it's
the
easier
minutes.
just to do one side
favor,
first and
who's
one side
not.
the other. It's not like we're gonna short any sides, believe me.
Let's see how many people there are.
Yeah.
We're in favor of it.
I'm your pro. And first row, how many people would like to speak that are pro?
I think the supervisor's running the meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna
So-
say. It gets to be a problem for me because I sometimes let people do this, but I please,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. I'm just a little uncertain as to, I would like to.
Is anybody in favor?
want to Speak in favor.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's Zarita.
Jim, don't they need to
So-
open the public hearing?
And yes, we do. That was, I meant to say that, but then people started talking.
I'll make
So-
a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Zarita, you can be the first one right up here, please. Over by the plant, that's right. And just say your name and your address.
My name is Zarita Hack. I live on Pratt's Falls Road, 7482. I've lived here for since 2005. I am in favor of this proposed community solar project, and I hope the board will approve. I spoke before saying that in my mind, it's a relatively simple project compared to the other projects that I've seen that have had to apply for changes and local laws and approvals. It's very well thought out. I think the project company has answered more questions than I could have even thought of, and they're very willing to work with the community to make it acceptable, which is also an unusual thing as far as these projects that come and go in the town have been. That's not often the case. I understand that there are some impacts for some of the neighbors, and the developer is willing to work with those impacts to mitigate them. And I believe that they can be mitigated. Once this is installed, I think the impact is minimal compared to a lot of other things that go on. There's not going to be traffic, heavy machinery, noise. Once it's done, it's done. I do appreciate the agricultural, the way they're going to plant the plants and have the sheep and all that. And I think that's important. It's not just for us, it's for our grandchildren and our kids. They're looking at us too. And they learn about renewable energy and resources and everything. And these things are important to them. And I hope you'll consider that. Also, my last 2 points, the tax revenue benefit, I think is huge. And I don't know where else you're going to get that from one project that's relatively simple. And the second thing is that the man who owns the land. He's not using it for agriculture currently. He's not taking it out and changing it. He's decided to do something with his land, and I think we should be able to support that. Thank you. Good job on time.
Did I see another hand? Beth, right?
I can read my phone.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do it? I can do it. Yeah, that's.
I'm Beth Scalisi. I live on Route 20.
What's your first name again?
Beth. And proponent of solar. I have an array. Love it. It has been advantageous for us to heat our greenhouses and our home. I guess for people that are like, they don't like the look of solar, it's ugly. I would have to say our telephone wires attractive. Our, anything that we already use in our cell phone tower is attractive. But we all love our cell phone. We all love to get our electricity and have all that. So I hope the board approves the solar farm. It's the future. We need to do something. The alternative is grim if we don't make some type of progress. From what I understand from this, that it's been very informative. Pro solar.
Thank you.
For the speakers, please face the audience. So we can hear better.
I'm just gonna ask people to speak up because they really are, we're supposed to be the ones hearing what they're saying. So I don't want to deny the board the opportunity. Maybe if they could stand, I was hoping maybe over here and then they could, maybe Tim and Tyler, you could move over this way and we could use that spot right there. But they're not gonna be on camera.
Oh, I can move the camera. I can move the camera.
Oh, you can. All right, then let's move the camera. Put them closer to the public, and that way maybe we can all hear, but it also would help if people aren't talking when somebody's talking. So anybody else want to speak in favor? I see a hand up there. Mark, is it Mark? Oh, I can't tell with the mask on. I said I couldn't tell with the mask on.
Over here, by the front.
Over there, yes, by my co-supervisor person. Okay.
My name's Martha Viglietta and I live on Gibbs Road. And I've lived in Pompey for 38 years, raised 4 kids here. Love Pompey. And I'm also a member of the Environmental Conservation Commission. And I am pro this project. I agree with the previous speakers who say that the project has limited impact, that the developer has been thoughtful and thorough in answering every question that has come up. I think that the setbacks and the screening are going to be adequate. And I also want as a member of the Environmental Conservation Commission, to think in terms of, in bigger environmental terms. Because I read a lot of environmental news. It's very depressing and scary. And the transition to an all-electric future has to happen, and it's the faster the better. So our commitment to clean energy for now and for our grandchildren and their grandchildren, I think is very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I saw another hand. Oh,
Right there.
is it Stan?
Not this.
Oh, you're
There are too many stands here.
I'm
Stan Hack, 7482 Pratt's Falls Road, and I agree with everything that I've heard so far, especially from Sarita. I have to do.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's for sure. I really urge the board to consider the future in addition to the now. This project, as others have said, refers to me for our children, for our grandchildren. Louder? Yeah, okay. This project really is hedging a lot of bets, I think. Who knows what's going to happen here in 25 years? Who knows what the economy is going to be like? Who knows if factory farms and big agribusiness comes in and tries to overtake what's going on in America? Yeah, I hope not. But here we have a project that's going to have income to the town. It's going to have future to all the residents. It's not going to disturb the land. It's going to have very, very low impact. And the plan to decommission, I mean, if after 25 years or whatever the number is, we don't want it anymore, it'll be decommissioned. The land will be what it is today from what they're talking about. It's not going to be anything different. We're not going to lose topsoil. We'll probably get extra topsoil. We're not going to have footers and whatnot that have to be taken out. So if after 25 years we go, geez, this isn't a good idea, we can always go back to it. But on the other hand, we're ahead of the game if we have it in place now, because certainly other communities are going to do this. So if we get started with it, we're going to be ahead of things. The thing that nobody's talked about is our local electric grid. With this project and other projects like it coming up and some new technology, we're going to be very good condition, especially if there are any kinds of large scale blackouts or brownouts. We'll have our own local power source that we can use. And, it might not be 100%, but it certainly could be something. So that's something else to consider in all of this. So I urge you to think about our kids, our grandkids. Think about the low impact of this. There's no loud music, there's no trucks, there's no ugly blacktop going in. In fact, from what we've been hearing, it sounds like it's going to look very nice compared to what we have in the area with the towers and whatnot. So I urge the board to vote in favor. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just want to remind people, please be respectful of others' opinions and it's not your own. Anybody else want to speak in? Yes.
I'm Anthony Viglietta, 4116 Gibbs Road. My focus really is on long-term climate. You know, hardly a week goes by that we don't read another story about how things are going poorly with mitigating the climate problems. The scientific community internationally is screaming for us to do something, and very little substantive is being done. And so, you know, I'm asking you as elected officials, you know, can you be for something? You know, so many ideas come up and people have reasons why we can't do it, but we have to be for something. And I hope this is something that we can be for. You know, Pivot has done such a great job of answering so many concerns. And I think, there are always compromises. There are gonna be compromises that we have to make to save our future. But Pivot is telling us, how we can mitigate the adverse impacts. And, we put our money where our mouth is. I have solar arrays at home. They're ground mounted. They're on metal structures. They're not very good looking. But we got some trees growing and in a little bit of time, they won't be that visible. So I think we all need to do that as a community. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor?
Just in the interest of time, I think that, well, my name's Adam Scalisi. I live at 785 US Route 20. I'm in favor of the solar project. I think the previous speakers highlighted really key points, all that I support. The one additional point I want to make is how alternative energies, whether it's solar farms or any other alternative energies that are being pursued in our society, I think they are a very good complement and supporting attribute to agriculture, which is such a prevalent occupation in our community. Farmers, even myself, we have the flower farm and nursery on Route 20. We rely on, reliable last and first frost dates. We rely on reliable rainfall rates, all of those things that a lot of farmers rely on. And to be able to protect those attributes of our environment, these are the kind of projects that we need to be able to continue the heritage culture of our community. So, thank you.
I saw a hand in the back.
My name's Jim Schoonmaker. I'm a 31-year resident of the town. I live at 3590 Watervale Road. And we were here at the town meetings for the development of the master plan and saw all the work that went into that. We've been impressed with this, have watched other applications that have raised the community's ire and have seen that we have all survived those and have done it in good spirits. So I'm here, I would like to support the town's efforts to proceed with this. I think it's a look towards the future. And I think it's something that we, the community, all need to recognize is something that we should be striving for in terms of alternative renewable energy. I'm upset that I sense that some folks look at this project as if it was a proposal for a strip mine. And I think as a solar owner, we've got one on a rooftop that you can't see if you didn't even know it was there. And think that this site with the work that Gordon has proposed and Pivot Energy's approach in general to their projects will be a positive benefit to the town and the community at large. And I also think that as far as one of the things that I feel would be most concerning for the residents would be what the effect of this project is going to have on the view shed. Certainly in Pompey, when you see our vistas, this is one of the things that drew us here. One of the reasons we like being here, and something that I don't see being spoiled by this project. I would hope that in deference to the folks who are going to be surrounded by this, that the planting is hard and heavy around them to alleviate their concerns. There are, I'm sure, other things that could have been built on that site that would be much more objectionable than a solar array surrounded by vegetation. And lastly, as far as the concern for the vistas and what this is going to create for our community, I'm not sure how many people are even actually aware of an 8,000 panel solar array just around the corner from us. If you go down to Taylor Road and drive up Taylor Road from 173 headed south, look carefully on the right, and you will see 8,000 solar panels beyond the wood line on the right that has been there for over 5 years. I believe it was put up in 2015. I think was, I'm sorry, Mr.
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, so drive down to Taylor Road and see a solar array and see how objectionable you think that looks. Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot all about the timer.
Got it right here. You can do it.
I want kind of battle. Hi, I'm Bill Osakowski, and I have seen. I've been here, I've seen these solar projects throughout the United States.
Can you say where you're?
Well, I'm at Henneberry Road. I've been living here since my wife and I, since 1980. I cleared the land, subdivided it, and sold the property to Stacers. And but I've seen it in other parts of the United States. And this is where I got the idea to the solar. I've seen hydro plants working. I've seen solar working, a lot larger arrays than that we're providing here. And I see them working for small communities in the Arctic. I see them in Alaska, Yukon, California, Colorado. These are working and they're viable projects. That's where I got this. When I didn't not just stumble into Pivot, I looked at other people. I kept getting these cards about solar. I grabbed Pivot, spoke to them. I spoke to Stork. I spoke to all these other people, and I like the way that they're serious about our community because we all love our community. I came here, I love it up here. I have everyone's interest, including my own, I know, but I want it to work for us. Please give the board consideration. This is not confrontational. Everybody's got to win here. And that's my business plan. Everybody wins. It's coming. I've seen in the Arctic where the ice is melting. I've seen animals dying because of the heat. I've crossed glaciers. I've gone to glaciers where they're melting. There's a reason this is happening. And it's all happening for fossil fuel. If you have not seen these electric cars in the city, they're beautiful cars. And people need and require this as a backup to our grid, whether it's hydro, wind, or solar. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in favor?
I'm not either. I just have questions.
Well, come on up.
Okay. Do we have any regulations? My name's Helen Bailey. I live at 2671 Ridge Road. Do we have regulations in our books or on any of the solar panel farms?
What do you mean, Helen?
Do we have any, like,
I mean, do we have a law, local?
yeah, any local laws?
Yeah, Tim can answer that, but yeah.
Okay, so, do we have a copy of the application for the utility company that is going to be purchasing electricity?
A copy of the interconnection application?
Yeah, to the whoever's purchasing the electricity.
Yeah, we would interconnect. It's a national grid distribution line on Sweet Road, and yeah, we could send the interconnection study like I offered to you. See, so we've gone through the interconnection process with the utility and they have approved interconnection.
Okay.
It's not something we would commonly ask for, in terms of, other than to confirm that
Right.
the project is
Yeah,
a viable project.
right. Do we have anything seeing what telecommunications are gonna be interfered with, like the towers that are 5 miles down the road? Is there any interference
No,
with
no.
any of it?
So like any piece of equipment that's commercially available, it has to go through pretty extensive testing based the standards that ensure there is not noise interfering with communications, whether it's
So there's not gonna be any
Cell
cell phone or anything, any TV?
Right.
interruption?
right.
Nothing, okay. Now you said there's not gonna be lights? No, like telephone poles with lights on them anywhere at night?
Right.
Okay, and
So
you
that,
are,
that is in the town law as well. I think it's pretty strict regulation around lighting of the system.
so do we have a height regulation on how high they can go?
10 feet.
Okay. And you are putting blacktop down
No, it would be,
for driveways?
no, the driveway would be like crushed stone.
Okay,
And it would be an engineered road. It wouldn't be like a farm road, but it would be crushed stone.
okay. Now, do you have to notify the town if any of the panels get changed, if they're upgraded to a different kind of panel? So that we are notified if there's something different about that panel?
Nothing in the local law that would require that, as far as I remember.
That would be, if anything, they'd have to come back to the planning board, but I don't.
If there's any
that is-
change,
Any change in any of the panels, like.
not in the panels, I think if the site would be expanded, for instance, they'd have to come in for a site.
Right, so instead of the 22 acres, they can have like 98 acres in that.
They would have to come back.
But they
I was
can't have
talking about the
98,
specific panel.
Yeah, no, I know. You can only have 50% of a parcel if it's prime ag land to be used for a project, just to be clear.
You're at 3 minutes.
It's at 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I interrupted her, so take one more.
There is noise, there's noise because it's going from DC to AC.
Right.
So there's going to be noise up there. Are you proposing to put it like in the middle of the project so it's not noisy around the outsides?
Well, and so what we use is called a string inverter on a project like this. And so it's a smaller unit, maybe the size of like a desktop computer. And so we group those throughout the array, but the noisiest units would be what's called a large central inverter. And so that would be like one big unit where you would probably hear like the cooling fans and you're right, some of the noise that's associated with converting from DC to AC electricity, but the string inverters that we use don't have big cooling fans on them and they're processing smaller amounts of energy individually. So it isn't, you're right. If you get up close to them, you can hear them kind of, clicking or chirping or whatever, but yeah.
Do you know how many decibels?
Off the top of my head, I mean, from how far away is the other
Right.
question too? So it drops off very quickly, but yeah, if you're,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Sorry.
I got it.
I just wondering if you have a limit on the contract and how long it is. I mean, is it 100 years?
Well, it's not a contract with us. It's a contract between the landowner and the developer.
Okay.
So. Okay, anybody else want to speak? Okay, so for those that want to speak against the project, I don't think you have anything to worry about. You're all gonna get your say because we still have at least a half an hour to go, so. Barb, have at it. 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barbara Stacer. I reside at 3457 Sweet Road, directly next to where the solar panels are going. So as you can imagine, my family and I will be greatly impacted. There will be glare. We have driven by them. We have seen them. There is glare. There will be noise. There will be a disturbance to our family and our quality of life. So before I ask some questions to the board, I do want to go on record to state that for liability purposes, vicarious transferable liability, we do not appreciate our address being used. If something were to happen, they will look for anybody that has address at 3457 and they could potentially come back on us as a homeowner. So wanted to put that out there. So I do have a couple questions on the requirements for the tier 3 project under the amendment that was made, and you just actually mentioned it. So 50% of the lot must remain prime farmland. Can you define prime farmland?
Well, yeah, I can. It's prime ag soils, but I would rather have our engineer, John, who is expert.
Based on the soils.
It's the
Okay.
soils.
Soil classifications that define what a.
Would wooded or wetland part of that 96 acres be considered prime? Okay, so if we look at 96 acres, then how many acres are actually considered prime farmland when a majority is made up of wetlands and of woods?
Something we have to look into.
I think that's in the municipal, the report from the county, and it's like 77 or 78.
Yeah,
78 acres is
that will
considered
be on the
prime.
website, so you can look at that, but it's within the 22 acres isn't close to 50% of the prime ag soils on that property.
So some of the wetland and wooded areas are considered prime farmland?
No.
So your point is that you want to understand,
All of the open land that you would consider, that's why I'm asking for definitions. All the open land that you would look at there is going to be taken by solar panels. So if we're considering wetlands and the wood area is prime farmland, I think that definition
I got
should be clear.
So the 96 acres includes woods, but it's still prime ag soil. It's the soils. It's not the, I'm gonna get the wording wrong, the topography or how the land looks. It can be in forest and still be prime ag. So that's why there's 96 acres in this parcel that encompass, that are included, but some of it is woods, but it's the soil that's the determining.
So that's the definition then of the prime farmland, is there's a soil definition to it.
It's the soils, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, 15 seconds.
sorry.
Okay, so I mentioned the insurance part of it. I mentioned that. And there was a lot of talk about mitigation. Everyone said, oh, there's mitigation and plan, but we didn't hear a single detail about what the mitigation actually is. So I think those details are very important of how each of the areas where there is a moderate to high concern, that there's a formal mitigation plan and not just that can be mitigated.
Can I make a suggestion?
No,
These questions were read. I think it would have helped an awful lot if we had those questions in our hands and we knew exactly what they were. Half of those against or for or moderate or it blew right past me. I didn't understand what you were talking about, to put it bluntly. The question.
Talking about the long form, part two.
Muffled, mask on. It was very hard to get those questions. I tried to write them down, but there's just a number.
Your email, I'll send it to you.
All right.
We can put the long form on
Yeah.
the website as well. It's as I think Tim mentioned, it's not going to be finalized yet because there is a need to consider what people have to say. And he needs to do some research on a couple of the issues. So, but once it's fine, once we have it, as far as we have it, we'll put we'll make sure that we say it's draft and, you know, not final, but you can read it. I think we were trying to move it along for the benefit of this group that wanted to be heard. So I apologize that for some of you, it wasn't necessarily meant to be an exercise for the whole group, but we had to get through it. So sorry about that.
And lastly, I just didn't feel like there was enough information made available to actually complete the seeker. I felt like we were guessing on a lot of it, and I think that's unfair. So that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Nancy? Oh,
I just have a question for him.
can you stand up and tell us who you are? And
Sean Stacer, 3457 Sweet Road. Is it true these solar panels catch fire or the transformers that a hazmat fire department has to respond to it or
If they catch fire, does,
the transformer, anything catches fire?
if a transformer, like a utility transformer, that would be,
Well, the ones down back that the solar panels go to, I don't know what you call them.
yeah, like what we're using to transform, to step up the voltage to,
Or the panel itself catches fire, that I've heard that the hazmat team has to respond to that.
I think different fire departments will have different regulations as far as how they handle it. So I would have to check with the fire department here and see how they,
Because of the chemicals and whatever, if they catch fire.
the panels themselves.
Yeah,
Well, so the panels we use are crystalline silicon, so the majority of the components are silicon, glass, and aluminum. I know what you're talking about, some of the thin film panels that are like cadmium, tellurium, or some of the more exotic combinations
or
where.
any of the stuff with the transformers.
Well, yeah, I mean, that, I guess that question would be, it's same transformers that you would see across
Just because.
the utility application, so I don't know what the utility regulations are on that either. No, but right, I mean, you have utility, you have transformers all over the town on the poles, commercial operations. It wouldn't just be this site that would be.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nancy, I saw your hand.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Furdock. I live at 7255 Sevier Road. I grew up in Pompey and recently moved back with my husband because we love the unique landscape of the area. We moved to an area that was zoned agricultural residential because that's what we wanted to be surrounded by, agricultural residential. To make it perfectly clear, I'm not against solar. I'm not against renewables. I'm actually pro. But I'm hearing a lot of talk about this one project, and I just want to make sure that the townspeople are aware that the overarching question is whether to change the zoning from agricultural residential to add a solar overlay. That isn't restricted just to this one gentleman's property. It extends, I'm not sure what the boundaries of this overlay are, but I have heard of at least 2 other land leases in the general area of that national grid line for more solar arrays. So we're not talking about just one project. We're talking about opening this up to potentially more. Just want to make sure that the townspeople are aware of that. And then the only other thing that I wanted to say is I had the occasion to speak with a gentleman named Ryan Stork. And through this whole thing, I've heard about pivot energy. But Mr. Stork, and this is purely what I heard from Mr. Stork, he said that he is the one, his company, Stork LLC, is the one that is doing this project, and that he hired Pivot Energy to handle, I believe the acronym was ECM. I have no idea what that means. I may have gotten it wrong, but to
EPC.
EPC, I'm not sure, but it sounded like Stork hired Pivot to handle the town negotiations or something to that effect. So I'd like to hear from Pivot.
Sure.
Who's actually doing this project and what do we know about Stork if they are in fact behind it?
No, I think
That's a fair question, very fair. You know, I talk with Ryan weekly. I'll talk with him tomorrow and ask him about this, in fact, because that's entirely incorrect. So, I mean, I don't know if you misunderstood or if he was years ago that you were, but. And you
Just
can
last
talk to
week,
Mr.
I talked to him.
Really? So you can talk with Mr. Osakowski as well. So your Pivot as a large developer typically does work with smaller development entities like Stork. They have a lot of expertise in finding sites that may work. They're good people, but we have acquired the project from them. Pivot is the owner of the project. We have a relationship with them, a very close relationship with them, but we are the lead developer on the project and in fact have the ownership of it. It is a Pivot project.
Okay, right.
I know.
Oh, I wasn't talking though, he was.
Yeah, that's.
More,
Very quickly.
that's very quick.
This is of, the gravity of this project can't be overestimated. I would like, because it affects not just one landowner, but also my neighbors and me and the entire community. I would like to propose that the board put a referendum on the ballot at the next election and let.
I just want to respond. Nancy mentioned that she knows of 2 other projects. The town does not. The town knows of one project that was one developer that came to us. There's never been an application filed, so I don't know what you know, but I hate rumor. So I do not like rumors. I want it, I like direct information. I can tell you with sincerity and honesty that the only project we have on the books right in process right now is Pivots. There was another developer a couple months ago, came to us. James and I met with him. They have not followed through. We have not got an application. So I just don't want people thinking from what Nancy said, that there's some other things in the works.
If I may though.
No, wait 1 second.
Formal application.
No, please. I just want to respond to that particular thing. Nancy, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that regardless of the rumors, establishing an overlay district will open it up to anyone who wants to come in and develop.
Well, that's
To apply to develop.
of course, anybody can apply to the town board like Pivot did for a project. But each project will be determined on its own merits. And you would have to have a separate local law to change the zoning for that property that another project would be on. Right now, we have a local law to change the zoning for the property that Pivot is proposing to put a solar array farm on. If there was another project that comes in, it'll have to go through the same process. We're not, the fact of the matter is, the local law has been passed last year to allow for solar farms in the town of Pompey. But each one of them has to be separately approved, which is quite frankly, more restrictive than any other town that I'm aware of in terms of solar farms and being approved in towns. So, can I address the issue of referendum?
I would like you to, because I know that people think that's the way to go and,
Well, it's,
but I would like you
the
to.
state law is very specific on what matters could be considered for public referendum. We don't have initiative or referendum in New York State. Our constitution doesn't allow for it. The only time you can put something up for a vote to the people in the state of New York is if it's a financing a general obligation bond, something like that. That's the only way it can go to the voters. That's why you have the environmental bond of 1996 or the transportation bond of 1999. We did one, I think. In terms of what can go to the voters for referendum, it has to be specifically allowed by the state legislature. This is not something that the state legislature has authorized towns to put up for public referendum as to whether or not a solar farm should go on a specific site. That's just not, it's not allowed in statute. Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 23 lists all the mandatory referendums, and 24 lists all the permissive referendums, meaning which are completely separate and distinct type of referendum. But the board doesn't have the authority to put this up for public. People of the town of Pompey have elected the people in front of you, and the people in front of you has appointed another person to make these decisions in terms of zone change. So while I understand the desire for such a thing, state law doesn't allow it.
Barb, did you want to say something? I just don't want this to become.
No, I just want to say, I understand the caveat to that though, is that just because there's no active application, we still had surveyors on our land when there was no active application. And there are surveyors serving Frank Long Road right now. So although there's not an active application, this is opening it up to other areas really nearby to have this happen. So we could be talking about a number of projects really close to one another. So
What I would ask this group to do, just because I think it's really important, if you go on the National Grid website, find out where three-phase connectivity is in this town, and you will see how limited we are in our ability to have any massive influx of solar, community solar. But at most, we could have three, at most. And it's not, I mean, it's just, we don't have the capacity. So I really do your homework. You know, if you think we can just go any other place in the town, it's not as visible or not as attractive or doesn't have the kind of soil. It absolutely depends on if you're near connectivity, and if you're not, you can't do it because it's too expensive they won't run the power lines. It's too expensive. So I'm just saying there are built-in limitations. We're not going to see them dotting the landscape. But anyway, anybody else want to speak? Yes.
I'm not sure if I may. My name is Tom Lampros. I live in Casanova, New York. I'm a solar technologist. I've been a solar engineer and scientist.
You know what? Can I just ask you?
I wanted to address some of the questions that were asked, if I may.
Can I let town people speak first? Do you mind if there's another?
Nobody else.
Well, I don't know. I saw somebody stand, but then they sat back down and, okay. So I just want to make sure the townspeople have an opportunity to speak.
Hi, I'm Deborah Grenier, and I've lived in Pompey for 35 years.
Could you state your address?
2010 Cemetery Road, Pompey. And I just want to first talk about the signs that went up.
No, we're not talking about that.
And they have the town's phone number on them. And then we got anti-solar signs.
Abby,
Yes.
This is about a public hearing on the.
It's about the solar issue.
No, it's not about. You can bring that up at public.
Free speech.
You can bring that up, no, you can bring that up at public comment, but
Okay.
for now, this is about whether or not you approve of
Okay.
the solar project.
Okay, I want to call attention to those pictures over there on the wall. There's a little teeny cutout and that on the solar project, and that would be their home. There's 2 homes there and families are gonna have to live with that right behind them, right in the backyard. It's horrible. I couldn't imagine that. Going out of my swimming pool and like looking out at that solar farm. It's horrible. It's unimaginable. And if Bill Osakowski, who I know he has a big piece of land, a residential area, he could clear out that land behind his house and put up a big solar farm back there. And it wouldn't impact anybody because no one could see. Because he lives on Hennenberry Road. I know exactly where his property was because I grew up on Hennenberry Road. He could clear out a nice area there and have a big solar farm back there and no one else would be able to see it. Because his property goes down a hill. And he'd be able to have a big solar farm there, and these 2 poor families wouldn't have to have the impact of having a solar farm in their backyard. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say, and, you know.
So is there anybody else from Pompey that wants to speak?
I just got a couple questions. I'm not for, really against. Chad Welch, 7104 Pratt's Fall Road. Really, I just guess, I haven't really heard much of this until recently. You see a lot on 81 downtown and that 5 years of debate. You would think we'd have.
We're not doing 5 years of debate.
But you'd think we'd have a little more conversation of how this is really going to impact our community instead of just a quick vote. Has there been any other opportunities, other places? You mentioned maybe only 3 because of the grid, but we haven't really seen other ideas or alternatives to the location that's currently at. Young lady that just talked a second ago mentioned, on Hennerberry behind someone else's house where you don't see it, visual line. I look at Sweet Road, I look at 91. Tourists from all over the place come up to agritourism to visit Heritage Hill, go up to Route 20, down to Springside. You got people that come through. Probably don't really want to see a big solar farm since they're coming out to see the agriculture that's out there. And then the pilot, I don't know who's managing that. Is it handling the management of the agreements and how much money you're going to get from Pivot? And what's the plan for that potentially $27,000 a year? Like, what's the plan goal for the board of the area? What are we doing with this money? I haven't seen.
Well, that's.
Revenues coming in.
It's not even on the table yet because there's no project yet to discuss it with.
Right, so we have a project, but we don't know what the money is going to be used for. That's going to.
There are,
It
no,
would be general fund money, like any property tax money that would.
but there are formulas out there that pilot agreements for solar do rely on. Whether or not we would choose to go that route and use those formulas or do our own, I don't know, but there is guidance. We would not be just operating.
I know, I'm just putting out a general question. I know this guy, how it works.
What did you ask another? Hannahberry Road does not have 3-phase connectivity. I really urge you to go look at where there's connectivity in this town. It is.
No, I'm just hoping the board would give some advice to the local,
Yeah.
not just us do the research.
Like, where do you live on Pratt's Falls?
7104
No, but where? What part? Between which?
between Sweet and 91.
Okay, so believe it or not, there's connectivity there.
That's okay.
Well, I'm just saying, would you like it in you have enough property? Just saying, there are places, but there are very limited because there's a substation near there. So there is some connectivity there.
Is there an alternative energy efficient projects plan other than the solar? Solar on any town buildings?
First of all, you have to have a landowner who's interested, who lives in the right area that has the connectivity. I mean, it's not just somebody has an idea and they come to us and I want to do this. I've had other town people approach us, but nobody follows through. So we can only go, yeah.
Alternatives for people to weigh the decision instead of.
That's why I'm saying,
one
please look at the map of where the connectivity is, because it really dictates. Yeah, it's on the National Grid website. It really dictates. You can't just you might think another spot is more suitable, but.
I'm just talking about options for the.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you.
Right now that everyone's trying to take a vote on, so I'll yield back to you.
Yeah. All right. Helen, I gotta wait, let somebody.
Question.
Yeah, but can I is it Mary back? Who's got her hand up? Yeah, come on up. I just want everybody to get it. I'm trying to be fair. Sorry.
I'm Mary Baum. I live at 3405 Sweet Road. I'm also next door to the proposed site. And I just want to say, I'm not against renewable energy. However, I urge the board to really think about what is a responsible placement of a solar farm of this magnitude. This is not 1 or 2 solar arrays like somebody can put on their home or on their roof. This is thousands of panels. It is placed between 2 homes. Is that really the right place to do that? I also think that it should be someplace where the town could benefit better financially from this, not a private landowner getting all the money. What they would make probably in the tax payment in lieu of taxes is minor. And lastly, I just wanted to make a statement or ask a question of Mr. Woodcock. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the developer can pay to upgrade a substation, correct? To put in a new solar farm?
You can, it's just very, very costly.
Okay.
Yeah, prohibitively expensive is for a project this size.
Right.
Like you'd be talking about
I
millions of
believe it was
dollars.
mentioned that it can't be done, but it can.
It would be prohibitively expensive.
And I just say I'm on the same side as the folks that have already spoken, so thanks.
Okay. Helen, well, let me, wait a minute. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Robert Knapp. I live on Broadfield Road. I've been a resident of Pompey for 62 years. Growing up, it was all agricultural. Everything was agricultural. Nothing was, solar farms, nothing was windows, nothing was anything. I had a few questions, actually for Gordon, I guess,
You
or
can ask
for
him.
the town lawyer first. In the zoning, you said the hole would any be any deeper than 2 feet? Nothing would be
So when we
down 2
when we were going through the,
the very beginning, nothing would be down lower than 2 feet.
no, we were,
These panels aren't below frost grade, the poles.
The piles would be driven piles and the depth would be somewhere around 8 feet driven into the soil. Yeah.
The ground would be disturbed lower than 2 feet.
It's not being excavated. So it is, it's not a significant disturbance.
Okay, no, there's no concrete, just
No.
driven poles.
Right, I mean, there would be concrete, like where the transformer pads are, but that's for a pretty small area. So it would be concrete.
Also, 25 years, I'm new to this up here. I haven't, maybe you guys have gone over this already. I don't know. What happens after 25 years when the panels are no longer good? I heard the life expectancy is 20 years on the panel, but maybe 25. What happens then? Who takes them out? Who does what to these panels? Who takes care of them? Where do they go? Do they go to a landfill? Do they go to?
I don't know which question to answer first.
I don't want to waste my time.
No, I know.
Afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to waste my
But I
time.
might forget your question. That's right.
Also,
I can answer that question.
I got.
No, wait. Your time. Let's,
I want to answer, Stan, I believe, when the power goes off, we'll still have power. It ain't gonna happen.
No.
Okay, so someone hits a pole, that solar farmer's not gonna say, hey, Stan, you got power. They ain't gonna happen. I don't mean to be funny. I don't mean to be fun of anybody.
yeah.
I should tell you that it's not gonna happen. Okay? Grid goes down. Gordon's solar panels are sitting in the breeze. Yes, sir.
Well, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I had one more. I can't remember what it was now. Oh, my brother-in-law mows solar farms. He loves them to death. They pay him a good money to mow them. They tried sheep. The sheep pull the grass out. The sheep don't eat the grass. They eat everything. They pull it up. They eat everything. They tried goats. Goats ate the wires, the conduit. They had a terrible time. Okay, that's what I've heard. Now, he loves it. He thinks the solar farm is the best thing in the world because he gets to mow. The problem is he mows them twice a year. He doesn't have the contract is twice a year. So he gets in there to mow them and the weeds are so tall that he has a tough time mowing them, but he loves them. They pay good. Somebody pays good. I don't know. Is that what's gonna happen here? Are the weeds gonna be up? I realize the panels are 10 feet in the air, so the weeds can only get, 10 feet.
Okay, if we had his 3 minutes of questions now, so we can try and answer all of them. Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Gordon, do you want to take? I don't know if you want to answer any of them. The decommissioning is in our law. I mean, it's a very stringent decommissioning plan that the company has to put in place.
With
it's part-
the,
No, that's okay. It's part of the planning board process. And it's a and I don't have the law in front of me, so if I say it wrong, somebody correct me, but I do believe that the town picks the person, who will evaluate what it's going to cost to decommission. And the developer pays for that person to determine the cost. So there's no playing around with what it's gonna cost. And then, can I just finish?
Sure.
And then you can. And then every 5 years it gets revalued. So the so the bond, there has to be a bond posted to cover for or cash. We'll take cash, but it has to be, the plan gets the cost of decommissioning gets revalued every 5 years. So that as time goes on, we're not stuck with a bond that can't cover the cost of decommissioning if the project is abandoned. That's really what if it's abandoned. But whether or not it's abandoned is a question for 25 years from the start of a project but go ahead, you had a question.
Right, we may never be here in 25. Well, I probably won't. I'll let I make it tomorrow. But what I'm saying is, there's gonna be so much in a bond right now. In 5 years, they come back, they say, okay, guess what? That bond's nowhere near enough. They have to put up more in the bond. 20 years down the road or 25 years down the road, pilot says in 20 years, say, guess what? We're out of town. We're no longer reliable for that solar farm. So you have, I don't know what the bond
Have
is.
you read the law? Have you read our law? Because read the decommissioning provisions in the law.
I haven't read it, but what I'm saying is,
Okay.
say the bond, I don't know what the bond, what's the initial bond?
It has to be determined based on the value of the
I thought there was a
project.
price on it somewhere. No?
No, not yet, not yet. Well, there's not a price because the bond is gonna be based on what it would cost today to decommission.
Right, I read it every 5
panels.
years.
Then
that's what I
every
know.
5 years,
That will grow or.
yes. And if the ownership changes, the bond responsibility transfers to the new owner. Read the provision.
If it gets changed, when pilot says we're no longer a company anymore, we're not.
Pivot.
Or pivot, I'm sorry.
You said pilot. I thought you
I'm
said
sorry.
pilot
yeah,
agreement.
I would say yes. Not affecting your job any here, but when they go out of business, who takes ownership then? The town of Pompey. Now you have to pay with what they put in the bond.
The town of
Pompey has to
never
pay.
takes ownership.
I own it.
Yeah.
Town of Pompey never takes.
Are you gonna be around in 25 years, Bill?
Yeah.
God bless.
Okay, look, I don't want, this is what I want to, I don't want between I want this to stay civil.
Where I'm getting
I get
the
it.
point at is.
So Bill,
Is he gonna, say something happens, is Bill gonna be held responsible to take those solar panels down and get rid of them?
it's not, it's gonna be,
Just hypothetically.
Yeah.
That's what the law says, yes. The law says that there will be a surety in place, a bond will be in place, and if he doesn't do it, then the town can call that bond and go in and do the work.
use the bond.
That's the
So-
purpose.
But what this
If
gentleman
there's
is saying, there
enough-
may not be enough money.
If there's enough money in there.
So in the worst case scenario, you're saying Pivot goes out of business, nobody wants to buy this, even though it's a revenue generating asset, it's completely paid for. Nobody wants to buy it and take over ownership, even though it's making money. That's, let's say.
Is it
so
making money, is it making money in 20
Of
years?
course, if there's any cost of energy at that point, unless we have cold fusion or something where energy is just zero, energy costs are zero, yes, it's generating energy, it's getting compensated for the energy that it's gonna generate. But the decommissioning security is in place to ensure that at any point, if the system stops operating, if the owner is not meeting its obligations, then it triggers removal. And it's not waiting till the end. It's like, I don't know what the terms are, but it's like 12 months or 6 months after
It's a year.
one of those triggering events.
Was abandoned.
That money's there and it's used quickly if the owner is not owning up to their responsibilities.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Knapp, I'm gonna move on just because we've been at this for an hour. What?
I just wanted to say something.
What? No, I'm not saying we're done. I said we would assess after an hour to see where we're at. So, I know that there is a gentleman from Casanova that would like to be heard, but are there other people that want to be heard from the town?
I just have one final
Okay,
comment.
but you're gonna have to wait because I see a number of other hands that have come up and you wanted to speak.
Yeah,
Can you come up and tell us who you are and?
I'm Mary Beth Albright, live at 7711 number 5 Road West. I basically was shocked at this because I found out on Facebook for a petition. I saw nothing, know nothing about what was going on, and then it's like all of a sudden, you got this huge farm going up, solar farm. And I want to know, I know there's projects, they could give grants, this and that for it. But how much of a tax break are they gonna get on this land? Because I've looked into it, 15 years, they could go without paying taxes or barely none. So then the town people are gonna have to pick up the difference.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's, Camillus had this problem, so had this big problem with this. And the only one that's benefiting from this is the owner. And he gets X amount of dollars per megawatt. So why is that being sold to a big corporation and not divvied out to the town people?
I'm sort of a little bit I'm confused about. Because I'm not sure.
So the question, I think the question is, do they get a tax? Under state law, solar farms are not required to pay taxes at all. So that's what the state law says. Except that you can enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement with a solar farm company as the town or the IDA to get compensated for the costs of that. It's not a tax, it's a payment in lieu of tax. So that's what when Gordon was talking about the pilot, that's the payments that would come to the town as opposed to an assessed value tax that the assessor of the town would put in.
But the assessed value is lower, isn't it?
There's no assessed. There is no.
No.
assessed. So the answer to your question is the state of New York has made solar farms to encourage the growth and encourage the implementation of renewable energies, has made them not subject to real property taxes. Except that you can enter into a pilot agreement, which is what is being proposed for this. So there would be a payment to the town, to the school district, and to the county.
But not to taxpayers. We should get a cut.
They would be a taxpayer to the town. And as we heard before, I think somebody had mentioned $27,000 per year, about $27,000 per year. That would come to the town, or that would come to the town, county, and the school district.
And according to the habitat, you're never gonna replace the habitat there once you disturb it. And what's gonna happen with the runoff coming off the hill? That's gonna go right down into Janesville Lake.
It's not a hill, it's not a hilly site.
But what about the runoff when they're cutting in and stuff? I mean, that's all shale. You know, and who's paying for that? Are they getting subsidized for that? They gotta be getting subsidies, so basically, it's a free-for-all where he could go in and just put this up. Make all the money and pay no taxes.
I think that. I don't think that you have accurate information. I
I
think,
got it on my phone, I could read it.
no, that's okay, but I think some of your information is inaccurate, so. But I appreciate that you have an opinion. I just am not sure that it's good information that you've got.
Well, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, my name's Carol Porto. I live at 3788.
You gotta come up here.
I live at 3788 Pompey Center Road. My first science major from Syracuse University, and I first want to say one thing. Does everybody know what produces fertilizer? What do you need to produce fertilizer? Is it electricity? No. What is it? Fossil fuels. Correct. Without fossil fuels, you are not producing fertilizer. Let's say it's James Loomis, the difference with fossil fuel fertilizer and not fertilizer.
You ask, you know,
what do you get when you use if you grow your crops with no fertilizer? What are you gonna get? What's the yield?
no less yield.
A lot less, right? Okay, and then people talk about, what do we need all this electricity, okay? Because we are in danger of what's happening. Oh, we're gonna, an ice age and this and that, right? First of all, Mars eons ago had what? Water on it, eons ago. There's no water on Mars now. Did fossil fuels do that? No. Okay, we're talking about money raised for the solar farms. Is the Stacer's property and the Bomb's property gonna go up in value because of this? What are you gonna be paying in taxes because of that? You think people want to live there? So the town is actually.
Carol Porter, can you, you gotta
The
address the
town
board.
is not gonna be benefiting from this. You are gonna be losing money because they can fight assessment. And I'm sure they pay a lot of money in this town, Bombs and them, okay? Now, if they sell their house, right now, I don't know what it's worth, but if they take a cut, half, I wouldn't want to live by this. I'm being honest. And would everybody want this right next to us? We're all forgetting that this is impacting certain people. Like, that's how I feel. Is this fair? I don't want it near me. I'm being honest. I had a restaurant up in Cape Vincent, and there was a fight between all the farmers and the people in the town. The farmers wanted the windmills. Why? They wanted the money. Now, if farmers are struggling around here and we give them, like you said, maybe there was 3 properties or whatever. I'm sure if James couldn't pay for his farm, and here's a lucrative deal, James, you can make money with solar farms. His wife might say, honey, let's do it. No farms, no food. We're all forgetting that. And if I ask James today, because I know this for a fact, James, is there enough land in Pompey? Could you use more land for your farm? Hay?
There's never enough land. Land's always short.
Correct. So we got to think about that. This is a farming community. Let's go back to every local here. What were they? Farmers. Okay, so let's up board. I hope you keep that in mind when making your decision. Yeah.
I was just wondering, if the fire department, if, you know, our volunteers, if they need more training to deal with these solar panels and the solar farm, are they gonna pay for the training that they need?
You know, it's an interesting question. I think we would reach out to the fire department and see what their concerns were and how we could work with them.
Okay, because they're volunteers and,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, training costs a lot.
I just had one thing.
All right, I thought Stan had his hand up too. I'm just trying to be fair to let people go, but
Yeah,
what?
no, I just wanted to say that I do not think it's fair that a gentleman who's not a member of our community from Casanova is allowed to speak here. If we were able to have expert testimony, I would run a real estate agent or someone else with me to talk about the effects that it's going to have on me. So I just wanted to go on record that I don't think it's
Let's-
right that someone from
Let's let the
another
board
town.
decide that. I'll see what the board wants to do, but it just. Stan, did you want to speak? What? But, and then after you speak, I'm thinking about figuring if we need to cut this thing off. The board still has quite a bit of work to do after this hearing, but to be able to continue it if we need to, so.
Stanley Gorman, Sevier Road. Yes, I've been involved with this little project and.
Looks like the telecommunications
Telecommunications.
stuff you bring.
I apologize for my tardiness to the meeting. I've got a business to run and we ran the Fabius Pompey Sports Booster Banquet tonight, which very well, so I'm proud of that. But addressing the board, addressing the board. My main concern that we've had, that I've had with the towers, I have the same concern with solar and this town's ability to monitor and enforce all the stuff that is in the law. Maybe you've addressed it and maybe I've missed it. So if that's the case, I apologize. But from my standpoint, the law is very well written, but I think it needs some teeth to it because if whoever puts up a solar farm, and I'm not singling out Billy O, but anybody else, if they choose to violate the policy, does the town have a leg to stand on when we talk about enforcing it. And I don't see any penalties or anything like that, other than the bond being posted. And if we're 5 years in, looking at reevaluating and somebody walks away, I would like to see some teeth in this law that allows the town, and if they don't follow this law as it's written, then there should be some financial fines or some accountability. I mean, maybe I'm wrong with that.
No, I'm just thinking about it.
My concern is the same thing. We wrote the telecommunications, but there's nothing there to enforce it. There's no backbone to it. And this law is very well written, and there's a lot of provisions in there, and there's a lot of decisions that this board and other boards have to make before this project goes in. But once the project is in, do we have any say? Do we have any teeth? This project, the contract is 25 years, but from my knowledge and what I've read and what I've seen, if the contract is renewed, or the solar panels are renewed or whatever it may be, that contract could go on indefinitely. And that solar carbon could be there more than 25 years. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, oh, I was supposed to ask you along the way, Veronica, about anybody online?
I haven't seen anything.
Oh, all right.
Anybody else?
Nancy?
Just one final comment.
Nancy Furdock is speaking again. for
Sorry,
anybody
Nancy
watching
Murdoch,
online.
Sevier Road. Renee, you said earlier, and I really take this to heart. You said that you're just here to, the board is just here to listen, and your job, your duty is to do the will of the people. I know we cannot do a formal ballot, as Mr. Protesky informed us, but I'm willing to bet, and I'm not asking you to do this, but I'm willing to bet if you took a vote right now, you'd have a very clear answer, with the exception of maybe 2 to 3 families, one of whom stands to benefit financially.
I don't think you should go, I don't think you should make that assumption. And I
So-
really don't think so.
Regardless, you'll be receiving a lot of written comments, petitions, and so on. I just ask you to remember that, as you said, you're here to do the will of.
I think what I said is we're here to do what's best for the town. What's in the best, whatever words I use,
The will of the townspeople.
well, maybe I did. Anyway. So board members, I will not be the one to decide whether or not somebody from the town of Casanova should be allowed to speak. But I will hear from the rest of you if you.
Is there anybody else that wanted to
Well,
speak that hasn't?
I didn't think so, I'm sorry.
I'm just checking. I know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't. No.
What are your thoughts on?
I'd like to hear it.
I don't think there's, I don't think we have any rules, or I
No,
don't think there's any law that says.
I wanted
that they
the
have.
town people to speak first
Right.
and
Right.
foremost. We now are at an hour and 15 minutes and we got one more person
You
to
could
speak.
take.
I know.
We know he's. He's not a town member, but we can list
Sure.
those.
Okay.
as long as we're
And I
aware,
mean,
right?
I
3
somewhat give him credit for coming since he's not
Right.
from Pompey, but I wanted to make sure that everybody from the town had the opportunity to be heard.
I don't think you can, honestly, I don't think you can prevent somebody
Oh,
from speaking. who's-
well,
that-
I didn't know that. Okay, you may have the floor then for 3 minutes.
Well, in fairness, let me say my name again, Tom Lampros, from Rippleton Cross Road in Casanova. And let me state for the record that, I used to work on the Andrews Farm on Berwyn Road when I was a kid, haying and milking, so I'm not entirely a stranger to Pompey. I want to point out initially that your logo, incorporates both a water wheel and a tree, renewable resources. So while this town is, the character of this town is currently agricultural, and certainly the water wheel was intended for an agricultural purpose, times change and technologies change. And our expectations of both farmers and the community changes. I could flip this light off right now and we'd all be in the dark, which is the way it was 100 years ago. But we have the benefit of electricity, and how we generate that electricity is imperative to our future as a species. I'd ask how many homes will benefit from this technology. The question may be asked, how many benefit locally? But the bigger question is, how many benefit? Because if we didn't have renewable technologies, we would be forced to rely on both nuclear and fossil fuel technologies. As we've heard, we need fossil fuels to generate fertilizer and other uses. So best to use a technology that generates electricity so that we have other resources for other purposes. I want to address the question about solar panels catching fire. It's happened. I'm not going to deny that. That happened about 10 years ago. There was a spate of fires when the industry began incorporating or importing modules from China. China didn't have the experience that we here in the US has. And as a result, it was inferior technology. That's all changed. They have to meet certain standards now. So those panels, while they may have caught fire on a Kmart, is going to be much less of an issue going forward. The question about noise, both electromagnetic interference and audible noise, the audible noise you won't, I can guarantee you won't hear from the road. The electromagnetic interference drops off, as I think Gordon said, as a square of the distance. So you're not going to get any electromagnetic interference from these. These have to meet certain standards.
15 seconds.
I think I covered just about everything I wanted to say, but the last thing would be national security. Oh, well, let me address the question about a grid, because New York State has actively reached out to communities to establish a community grid. And there is a way, even in the event of a grid blackout, that you could have this community stand alone and define that area. It's possible, and it's being done. Thank you.
Renee, I have a couple.
Okay.
One is just a comment. It's gonna be very hard for me to read from here, but I'll try.
Oh,
A
you
comment,
don't have it on there?
no, a comment from Chris Carrick. Solar projects don't result in an increase in energy. They generate energy.
That must have been from
That's a
Chris Carrick is from the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. He's the energy, what's his title? He's all things energy for New York State. Or for this area, but for New York State. Right? I mean, that's what I don't know his exact title. It's energy something.
And then Joe Wilcox on Facebook. I don't have an address. What technology is used to make the solar panels and resources to wire it all together? What is the insulation on the wire made out of?
You want me to answer that?
Well, I'm not answering.
I mean, it's a cross-linked polymer, and so it's rated for sunlight exposure and voltage. You know, what the panels are made with, I think right now it's gonna be whatever is feeding that manufacturing facility, and it depends on where you get your panels from. The manufacturer that we're using on projects that are getting installed this year is committed to shifting towards renewable resources to power their projects. I don't know what the mix is right now. When it comes to energy payback, and that's the embedded energy in a solar panel, the amount of energy it takes to make a solar panel is generated by that solar panel within 6 to 12 months, depending on the technology, the location, a number of factors. But the embedded energy in a solar panel is small compared to its lifetime energy production. I don't know if that's what they were getting at or not, but
That's all I have.
All right. Board members? Do we want to continue this for another session, or are we ready to close the hearing?
Go ahead, Stan.
Have you addressed the ECC concern?
Yes, we have, right at the beginning, and they're going to be posted on the website. So you'll be able to find them. That'd be fine.
So if you wanted to close the public hearing tonight and then accept written comments over the next 30 days, then you could do that.
Okay. Or did you?
Or do you want to keep the public hearing open for more oral comment as the next meeting?
I don't,
Shines it out.
I don't either.
Unless there's somebody else that wants to speak. Public hearing.
I think all of the issues that came up when we first had the public hearings for the local laws last year. And the issues that are coming up now for this project have been exhaustively covered. I think we're all aware of everyone's issues and concerns, and we will leave, though, the opportunity to submit anything in writing open for a period of, did you say 30
Well,
days?
I think if we can make it a week before the next meeting,
Yeah, that might be better.
yeah, so at least we
And
can
then-
have them all a week before the next meeting. and we can-
So I did get as well two written, one supporting the project, one opposing it. So I'm gonna give them to Nikki. They're both from Pompey residents. Jane Fagerland on Citation Drive thinks there should be a better location. And then Barry Tessanaro from Broadfield Road supports the project. So I'll give you those, and then I don't intend to read everything into the record next time from anything that is submitted in writing, so, but it will be taken into consideration and will be shared with all the board members.
Your next meeting is July sixth. It's one of those Wednesday.
Oh, it's that Wednesday meeting because it's July 4th is a Monday. Okay,
The week before would be June 29th.
so let's make anybody who, we can put this on our Facebook web page and website. Any written comments, I think somebody mentioned questions or whatever, needs to be in by July 29th. I mean, June 29th. June. Everybody's gonna submit by July. So June 29th is the deadline.
Is that written and email?
Yes, that's written. That's considered written, I mean. Okay, so for those of you who don't have to stay for the rest of this meeting.
We gotta make a motion to close. the public
Oh, I
hearing.
forgot, we did, because we're closing it. I'm so used to continuing public hearings.
I'll make a motion to close the public.
And I'll
hearing.
second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You are welcome to depart. Thank you for coming. We really do appreciate the input.
I was just gonna say, you might take a 5-minute break.
I'll take a 5-minute break. I would like you to go next. You
I don't have a problem.
Okay, just so you. No, not so much. I just feel like you're gonna sit through a lot. You don't need to sit here.
So I left for an hour and a half to watch my team play baseball, like,
Oh, yeah.
since 8 o'clock this morning.
I wish baseball.
I gotta stand.
So I'm going to put it school watch.
I did not realize that.
Oh, wait a minute, Veronica.
Oh, I, oh, yeah. Tom, nice to meet you. You'd like to get paid
I'm gonna take the bookkeeper next, and then I'm gonna take, John thinks it's because I don't want him to keep running up his bill, but I want to take the MS4 report, which is number 10, and put it next so he can get out of here, because the rest of this, I don't think we need him for. So we're back on, back in session. So Tom Chartran.
So monthly statement, as far as receipts and disbursements, the last page. Pretty good month for town clerk fees, a little bit over $2,000. Night class, you can see is continuing to creep up. We started the month with at 0.305%. We're now at 0.584%. So unfortunately, it's not going up as fast as the cost of fuel. Justice court fines are doing good. We're actually at about 40%, 46% of budget. So that was good news. A little bit of scrap metal money came in. Under the highway fund, some fuel reimbursements and a couple of driveway permits. And the rest of the way down through was pretty quiet until you get down to the highway fund. 181,000, most of that was the submittal for the multimodal and for the CHIPS and associated programs that we're going to get reimbursed by the state for. So it's good to get that spent early in the year. So hopefully we'll get our money back a little bit quicker. As far as the main report and big numbers, our general spending without the trash district amounts in there is at about 31%. Our general fund revenues are at 77%. Our highway spending is currently at 24%, even with that big chunk coming out of there. And our revenues are at 80% there. So we're looking quite good at this point, year to date. But once we start paving roads and those kind of things, then I haven't seen the bills for the highway, so I don't know where we're at on those yet. So I think that was all I had for supervisor's statement.
What do you want to make?
I'll make a motion to accept the May 2022 monthly supervisor statement.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I'll make a motion to approve the supervisors, town clerk and tax collector, bank reconciliations.
I'll second it.
I don't think you've seen them, so you can just not vote. Or vote no, or whatever, whichever. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, the vouchers, James, you're still working on some of them.
I got some of them done.
Okay, you want to hand me the ones that are done? Does the board want to hold off and make a motion on that later, once they've all been reviewed? And then the last item I had was a transfer sheet. We need to add some funding to the employee benefits health insurance. And that's for the general fund. We had some savings in the highway fund due to all the changes. But we had an additional person added to the health insurance that wasn't there when we budgeted for this. So we need to cover that additional cost.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer that Tom just gave us.
I'll second it.
Does anybody need discussion? I'm passing around a sheet and sort of James can look at it too, that shows the differences that are the reasons for it. We're making out in highway, but we're over in the general fund.
Right, because we had a significant, as you recall, we had some significant changes in highway personnel from the time we did budget.
Yes.
Till today.
But I think we're all for the good in terms of like, if you.
As far as the taxpayers go, we're way ahead.
Yeah,
As you can see the bottom line, where we have significant savings.
Yeah, okay, that's what.
That's where the funding goes.
So, I forgot where I left off.
I made a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
I thought you were.
Did you want to?
Oh, no, I want to do, I'm
John
sorry.
first.
Yep, that's
Okay,
my
I'm
bad.
fine with that.
And I said on this floor here. Share this, you guys. Give that to James, because I looked at it and I think everybody else has, so.
All right.
So I'm timing myself 3 minutes.
I love it.
Perfect.
That's what he's saying.
That's what it
So, if you guys know, you're a designated municipality by New York State, to administer a stormwater program every year. And every year we have to do an annual report and tell DEC how well we're doing. So I'm presenting a report to you for Renee's signature tonight. I'll just briefly go through. There's 6 things that we have to do as a municipality to satisfy DC's requirement. We have to educate the public about stormwater. We contract with Central New York Regional Planning to do that for us. We have to involve the public. We're doing that tonight by presenting this document publicly. It's also posted on our website.
Will be.
It will be. We receive public comments. If there are any, we don't get any, but we have the opportunity for those. We do an Earth Day cleanup every year. We have done some tree plantings this year, so these all count for things, how we involve the public in stormwater stuff. We also have an obligation to figure out where all of our stormwater discharges go when they leave the town. We have 14 outfalls that we've identified. They're all in the Spruce Ridge, Pompey Pines and Preserve areas. They've been mapped. And last year, Soil and Water Conservation District inspected all of those 14 outfalls, which is the requirement, and they found no pollution there, so we can report that that is satisfactory, no evidence of pollution. We also are obligated to review any projects that come before us that need stormwater permit coverage. We didn't have it. So this year there were none. These are big projects that disturb more than an acre of land. The solar farm, if it goes through, we would need to review that as part of the stormwater requirements as well. And finally, our municipal operations, we're required to report what we do that benefits stormwater, like inspecting all of our detention basins and stormwater facilities in the developments. That's been done every year. Our highway department did that this year. Catch basins are all cleaned every year and the streets are swept every year. So that's a brief summary of what's in the report, what we're reporting, 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Perfect.
So
John, any outliers at all on anything you went through?
I know. We will have to next year. I mean, I'm just stepping into this, but next year we will have to update our stormwater management plan to get it. There's a new draft permit requirements. There's going to be some more requirements that we'll work on next year and work on that reporting. But you also have to provide the public an opportunity to comment on what I just said at the end of the report before Renee. Right.
Okay.
So should I ask the public here if they have any, does anyone have a comment?
It's on the record, in the record.
Stormwater annual report? All 5 of you that are left. After the mass exodus. Okay,
Sign that.
and I'll sign. Am I authorized to sign this? Do I need
Yeah.
authorization?
Sure.
Or should,
I'll make a
I'll
motion,
make
or
a
you
motion.
do it, please.
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept the report as written.
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Do I give this back to you?
Yes, we'll file it. We'll file it then with New York State DEC. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll have a nice rest of the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay,
Jumping in.
go right back to
Okay.
Nikki.
The board's had the chance to review my minutes. I'm looking for approval.
I would make a motion that we approve or accept the minutes
No, I
from
can see
the May
you again.
2nd regular meeting and the May 16th special meeting. So, and seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Secondly, there was a corporate change of the ownership. It's now Sonia Morgan. So I got an informal letter just letting them know that ownership was changing hands.
Do we have to do anything on that, the board?
Did they ask for a waiver of the 30-day notice requirement? I don't think
They
they did.
didn't, they did not. They just,
Sometimes they do. No, I just think we need to know for the record that we've
there's
gotten
a
a letter.
corporate change of that
There's been an
letter.
ownership
The thing
change.
that's
And,
confusing is in the letter, they're asking for once we receive a response, meaning the town's response. I don't
There is no-
know.
the town's not responsible.
Yeah, they're just informing us that they're applying for the corporate change and that they're going to proceed with the paperwork.
Okay.
Question on him.
This is a business owner. Does it have anything to do with their liquor license?
It does,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. exactly what it is.
We're having a change of ownership for the.
Okay, last is the establishment of fee for school taxes. We've been at $3. it was discussed at budget time, potentially with a increase in postage if we were going to collect more than $3. Or going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I think the letter is, in the past, has been a request to the school districts for the amount that we would charge per parcel collected.
It's in the contract, and I
It's in
think
the
we talked
agreement
about moving it up a little bit.
And we don't have an agreement for this year yet, do we?
No, I mean, I have what we've used in the past.
Oh, all right.
It was $3 per parcel.
So I think in the past, what we've done is we've sent the letter to the school board with a request for the increase.
And they wanted to approve it at their June board meeting.
So
We should make a decision tonight. then.
Exactly, that's my point.
has it been at $3 for a long time?
I think it was $2.50 originally, like, and when we first started it, but it's been like several years at $3.
Definitely.
So then how much would,
And this is just for FM. I'm not collecting for JD this year.
Right.
They're keeping it in their district.
That is part of the reason that Jamie no longer has us do it is because it costs them.
We didn't talk,
So
yes,
from a
Yeah.
pricing standpoint. Do we risk for it?
losing them?
That's a good point.
We might, but we won't know.
they came to me years ago to do it.
Right.
I mean, it was their thing.
But JD, possibly because it's too expensive.
They're talking about if we raise it, will we lose the FM tax collection? There's a risk.
I mean, isn't it a benefit to be able to pay it?
In your town, you
Yes.
come down here instead of having to go to FM, but I don't know if that, I don't
It's
know.
a modest revenue source for the town.
It
and
is.
I'm just wondering if average price is higher, we lose it. I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, I think you approach it as a request, not as a demand.
Oh, okay.
I think the letter should state, if possible, would the school district be able to reimburse the town of Pompey for $3.50 instead of the $3?
And it's, or some other amount.
Right. Or if it's $16 a parcel, you know, you
Actually,
can put it nicely.
and is it because of the postage? I mean, costs have gone up, everything.
Postage has
Everything's
gone up.
gone up.
All of our paper supplies are going up, all of our printing supplies.
So
So $3.50 probably isn't.
I would put it the way you, Tom said it. And not make it a demand, but just,
Okay,
would you consider?
okay.
How much is it for the letter?
We have no idea what you're saying over there.
Just sit in your corner.
I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, no, you don't, you have something else.
Oh, the E-codes.
The e-code.
Oh, that's
Please, guys,
on here. Okay,
we need to get that done.
the E-code codification for the local laws.
So you know the book, the formal
Code book.
code book.
And it's also on the online app that can access to look at town codes.
So ours has not been, I don't think it's been
2017.
recodified since.
17, it looks like.
There's several, especially last year's solar laws in there. so-
Yeah, there are 9 that.
Wow.
There's
Well,
9, but
wait,
they all
4
won't get.
just 4 need to be codified. The other 1 to 5 do not need to be codified. But they did give me an
What's the
estimation.
code? What's the cost?
1,535 to 1,825.
1825, yeah,
So that's under what we budgeted.
We budgeted 2,500.
500.
I make a motion, we get that done.
Okay,
I second that. I don't even know if Nikki needs us to make a motion on that, but
It wouldn't hurt.
yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
they're ready to go. I talked to them today. They're ready to go on.
Nikki, I
Yeah.
also ask you, is there a way they can adjust the E-codes so that schedule of heights and everything? People can
Chart.
find that.
So I did talk to her. She said it's something that they cannot do, but they sent me dialogue that can help me figure out a way once I log in on how to do it.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll figure that out.
No, I'll help you if you want.
All right, perfect.
So these two have been patiently waiting
Yeah.
to be introduced and to also just update us on the code enforcement officers, the code enforcement office group work. So this is Tim Barrett. You might want to come up here so people on can see you.
Well, you picked a bad day to come.
I know, isn't it horrible? He's our new codes enforcement officer, and then Tyler Johnson is our deputy codes enforcement officer.
Nice to meet you. guys.
I know. And if you don't think we're not happy to have you, I think I've told you how appreciative we are that you both accepted the positions. I wanted people to see you. Tim will mostly be responsible for building permits, planning board applications, yeah, certificates of occupancy, et cetera. Tyler, who happens to have a background in fire safety, and is an EMT, will be doing our fire inspections. So Stan, he'll be coming to your business. And I know it's about time, and not for you, I mean, for the town. It's about time.
Where's the bridging system?
Good. And he will also be fielding, he'll be the first line of defense for any complaints that come through for codes violations, et cetera. And they'll both be working on other things like the inventories, but we're getting them settled. They've been here, what, a month?
Not quite a month.
Not quite a month, so, but they've settled in nicely. They're both doing a great job as far as I'm concerned. But I would like to turn it over to you to just have just a brief update. You did give us in your packets, everyone, is a 3-pager from Tim.
That's great.
Yeah, this is exactly.
That's what we.
Yeah. Yes, and it shows what's been done in the month of like permits issued and, yeah. So,
Yeah, so far, next Monday, I'm meeting via Zoom with a young lady, I can't remember her last name, but it's Mary from the DEC, and she's gonna go over all the wetlands and what's been developed, if anything, on the wetlands. I started going over what she has asked for, which seems like it's the same every year. Pretty much just our applications we have for building on wetlands. I did find them.
Good.
Our regular building permit applications. Our most recent local law that I still looking up. Anything related to building on the wetlands. I'm still kind of going through the local laws. It's been a busy month.
no, but yeah, and that's, as far as the wetlands, if you're meeting with the DEC, that'll be the best way to like get a handle on.
Yeah, I told her that I was new this month. I think she's been trying to reach out for Bob
Oh,
maybe since August, so we will, she's happy to meet with somebody. And I told her it would be great for any information from her, what she expects from each town with the programs. It'll be a learning experience for me.
and Tyler, you want to report out on anything?
So basically, a lot of what I've been doing is one, going through the fire inspection files.
Trying to find them.
Finding them and then going through them to see where we were at as a town of fire inspections. Which obviously lacking, to say the better word, but hopefully we're starting to get on the right track of, making a list of what is in each fire district, and going from there is, obviously certain occupancies have to be done every year, like assembly occupancies such as town hall has to be done every year. Others can be done every 3 years. I've reached out to some of the local fire departments and they've already kind of, expressed concerns about certain businesses within the town of which they would like to see inspected first and foremost. As far as complaints go, a lot of it's been driving around. We've had a lot of old complaints that have sat for a while. It's just getting out to see whether or not they're even still valid. There's some that are recent that, are there that were not addressed. And people are a little upset about it, but they're happy that now that it is being addressed and their concerns are being, taken seriously. I've sent out quite a few letters of orders to remedy to people. Thankfully, I have not seen any of them come back. So knock on wood, that means they either have received them, received a phone call back on one of them. So starting to move in the right direction on, getting some things taken care of. Letters have gone out regarding the fire inspections. Once again, haven't received anything back yet. But that might just be we haven't had a fire inspection in a while. So they do have a deadline of you have X amount of days to set a fire inspection up with our office, or it's just going to be, I'm here, you're reading a fire inspection, and that's kind of gonna be how it goes.
Okay,
Okay, good.
yeah, it's great. I think there was a fee you wanted us to, a renewal fee that we need to, the board needs to actually waive, which I don't think is a big deal, but we just need to like act on it. So
One applicant from last year that applied for a building permit. And they were granted the permit, but with the cost of materials, they decided to hold off. They are willing to renew the permit, but I was wondering, and they were wondering, if a half price fee should be taken, or
I think there's been confusion. That's why there's been either some, I mean, when I talked to your predecessor, Bob, he has not been charging people for, or so he says, for renewals of permits. But on the other hand, I think there's something on the fee schedule that says half the price of the original, what the original fee was. So
my other 3 towns do charge the half the
so
price.
I would say we stick with that rather than. So, yeah, so let's, so I think we're good with that. And Tim said that he would like, this does not need to be tonight, so we can, I will leave, this is the Michael. But I think there's some urgency because they are looking to close on the property, so it does need to be reviewed. This is the one where part of the lot line adjustment would push the parcel into a different zone, a farm, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot line adjustment, and it would, the new lot where the residence is would be half residential, half farm.
Okay, we don't like split zoning here.
I don't think we-
Why do they want to do that? Maybe we could talk, let's talk about it tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I. But anyway, no, at this point, I think. if
No, we'll
you-
talk about it. Call me tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to give you this back. Okay, no, it doesn't, but, so thank you too. We have great things for you to take on, so appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Stay with
Thank
us,
you.
okay?
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, Tim, you're up. Your first thing here is your.
So the county has provided us with a intermunicipal agreement related to $200,000 for the project.
There were a couple of revisions that still need to be made, so I was hoping that we could move this along. One of them was to move the end date of the contract under the page 1 term to December of 2023, just in case. And then, yes, this is the preserve. But, and it was the second whereas clause, you wanted the word center removed, right?
He changed it on the one I have.
I don't have that one,
Okay.
but,
He sent it to me, so.
okay.
There were no, I have no problems with this contract the way it's written. You're gonna get half your money up, half money in front, half money at the end of the project, 100,000 up front, 100,000 at the end of the project.
This is for the preserve drainage. This is the sewer release consolidation money, the 200,000. So I would make a motion
authorize supervisor to sign this.
Oh, I shouldn't
contract.
make.
I'll make a motion for you to sign the intermunicipal agreement.
I'll second it.
And the one that you have.
Yeah.
But I'll take the word draft off. And, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye,
Aye.
opposed, motion carried.
The other item is this local law. The resolution calling for a public hearing to authorize the town to have video conferencing. There's a big missing on mine.
You do?
But
Mine.
no, that's okay. But this conforms to section 103 of the Public Officers Law, which will allow us to have video conferencing where people can participate, board members can participate, as long as we have a quorum of the board present, that you can participate. I've also drafted a video conferencing policy and guidelines, which is the last page of this. That would also have to be adopted pursuant to the local law. And it outlines the kind of reasons that would be acceptable for not being able to be attending the meeting. So all we're doing today is setting a date for a public hearing on this local law.
Can we do something with the policy if we want to change it?
Absolutely.
Do we have to do that tonight? Do we do that tonight?
Well,
Because
the
I know there's been,
Yeah, the policy can be changed at any time. That the local law has to be passed.
okay,
And then you can change the policy. I just provided you with a policy. But it can be changed now, or it can be changed the next day if there's something
So-
specific you want to change.
first of all, I apologize. I think this was a two-sided document, and when I copied it, I only copied one side. So that's why nobody has the back sides of
Okay,
the pages that are missing. But second, so the local law we're passing simply says that we are going to allow video conferencing and we will adopt a policy.
correct.
Okay,
And I want to draft the policy to give you a sense
we
of
gotta
what.
start here, yeah, because I think there's some discussion we need to have. It doesn't have to be tonight in light of what you're telling me about the provisions we want to, and we need to talk to you about it from a legal perspective.
And the caveat that I read was that there needed to be a quorum present at town hall.
Correct,
Okay,
correct. It's not like it was under the executive order where
Everybody-
everybody
You could
could
be anywhere.
participate.
But that aspect of it comes directly from the state.
Correct.
That's
That's something we can't change.
Okay.
but there is discretion in some of what we might want
As
in our
reasons for not-
policy.
Yeah. as
Yes.
reasons.
Okay,
But on this board, there always has to be 3 people here
okay,
in order for us to hold a public,
Well-
or to hold a public meeting.
I'm not going anywhere, so I don't go anywhere. I'll be here. Hey, James, you're saying for you probably. Anyway, so I would make a motion to schedule a public hearing for July 6th at 6:35 to what am I saying? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Local law number 1.
To consider local law number 1 that would allow the town to video conference and adopt a policy relative to that.
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, aye,
I think it's no brainer.
okay. Well, the public gets to weigh in. So we gotta listen to them first, so, but I hear you. Motion carried. So Nikki,
Yep,
July
I got it.
6th.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll do the number.
Okay.
I'll be rushing back from Cortland that day. The kids are down at Portland Fair showing
Oh,
their rabbits and chickens that day. I think I'll be back fine, but
that's Wednesday?
yep.
Okay.
I think I can make it. Like it around 2 or 3, but
That's all I have, man.
Thank you.
all right.
So, before we go, well, we have executive session too. So the only business I have, is that I have spoken to Brian Fitz, who we have a contract with Fitz Appraisal that expires July 1st. of this year, where he has been covering on an emergency interim basis, the work of the town's tax assessment office. He is finding that he can handle our town business, wants to stay on. He will have to reach out to Fabius to like address the same issue with them since we are a combined
You're in a-
assessment,
yeah.
So what I would like to do is make a motion to appoint him our town tax assessor effective July 2nd, at the expiration of the contract that he currently has, since we're already into June. The only question I have is what the term is. He will be completing the unexpired or the unexpired portion of the term that he took on,
Right. It's a 7-year term.
which is 7 years. I just forget, was it 2019 when?
I
think
think
it
we're
was-
2 years in. I'll see if I can find the date on my. computer
Okay.
while you're-
So I would make that motion to.
I'll second
appoint him.
that.
Okay.
Oh, you need to set a salary.
And
too.
I told him for the remainder of the year, it would be the balance of the salary that we have set for this year, which
Bring that up
I
right
think was it 31? We were paying him monthly.
now. The approved salary at budget time was 31,750, but I think he agreed for 30,000, so for the contractor.
Oh, he did?
I think that, yeah, because aren't we paying him 2,500 a month?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So, the salary that our previous assessor was at was 31,750. But I think since this is an appointed, the board can do whatever you made an agreement with him for.
I guess I don't know what the balance is for, I would,
Well, we haven't, all we did was transfer out
Oh,
the
right.
15,000 over to, so there's still 17,000 left in there.
so, how much left in there?
Well, there's still everything but the 15,000 that we transferred out.
So it's like
750.
16,750.
You know,
So I would set that for the remainder, the last 6 months of the year as his salary. And then, as I said to him, we'll at budget time. But he's been doing a really good job. I don't know what, Nikki, you're here more than I am even, but still, he's right on top of things.
so 16,750 for the 6 months.
Okay, so I made that motion, you seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. And Stan, for your information, he's going to be working on those assessments.
If I can help in any way.
Yeah. I just wanted to give a quick update on the swim program. I talked to Megan. So the schedules are posted around town, 212 people registered. Yeah, that's definitely benefit of bump after last 2 years, well, last year. 126 kids are from Pompey, 86 kids are from out of town, which gives us an $8,600 revenue since we bumped the price up to $100 an out of town kid, which is a nice little amount of money.
Yeah.
Of the 126 kids, there's 58 families involved, 53 of them paid registration. So we did very well with the suggested fee. It really doesn't seem like it was an issue unless people didn't register. There you know what I mean? Because 212 is not, we could have almost, I think, 270, 280. There were more kids that we could have put in the program, but this is who registered for this year. But coming off of the last 2 years, I'm not gonna worry. I think that's a good number.
What did we have a couple years ago, back when last normal year?
It was high. It
It
was.
was like 280 or.
Yeah,
something. It was one of
Yeah,
our best.
so I think we're trying to, who knows with the last 2 years, but hopefully it'll grow back up, but
Who runs the program now?
the town does, but we do it at Casanova College and we have a swim program coordinator and she hires all of her instructors and actually Debbie's daughter is the chief she's the head of the water, the lifeguards and sort of.
Here.
Yeah.
This year.
Oh, she's not doing it this year?
Who's not doing it?
Ah. Well, if she was, then I take that back, but so,
I
but
have had no contact from her to tell, so she hasn't contacted me about getting packets or anything or how many people.
I'll reach out to her. And tell her to get in touch with you.
Well, and just to add, just so people know, Megan also gave me a list of the registration. So in the vestibule, when you first walk into the town, we have a bulletin board. It has a big sign that says swim, so the schedules are posted up here at the town hall too.
Good. And at the post office in Fabius and in Pompey.
And on the
She's not-
website, and on the website.
And on the website, that's right. Thank you.
So she's not doing. She's not heading up this year?
Megan Campbell is.
Oh, all right.
Chaz is not doing, she used to be I don't know for her title because it changed last year, but she was sort of the lead or the head life.
Safety instructor.
Yeah, she was, she sort of,
There that.
she sort of kept them all in line.
All right, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
So, and last but not least on my list, I would like to propose that this board consider how we want to handle short-term rentals in this town. It's come up a couple of times recently.
Like Airbnb things.
Like Airbnb. I don't know if you saw the article in Sunday's paper with the person who's purporting to make $40,000 or $50,000
Oh, yeah.
a year
Yeah.
on Pompey Hollow Road, running an Airbnb kind of bed and breakfast, which so I went on the Airbnb website to see how many properties in Pompey actually are advertised there. And there's a total of, I think, 5. But there are 2 places on Pompey Center Road that are of concern of late, and one of which, when we investigated it, was discovered that the person was trying to put an Airbnb in there in a ranch style house that they're renovating with to sleep 12 people with multiple parking spaces and a hot tub in the backyard, a fire pit. And it could become Party City in a residential area. So I think that the town should sort of be thinking about what do we want as far as allowing short-term rentals? And I've been looking into, I did some research. There's many towns that either have a registration process, so you have to register if you're going to do this, or licensing and there's a fee attached, or some towns even go so far as to pass a local law that regulates it a little bit more. So Anne has volunteered to be on a committee that would look into this. And I'm just thinking we should probably I just think it's a timely issue and we need to, before it gets more, we get more of this out there. One of the places is literally down the road from the town hall. So,
Really?
yeah, so it's the next house down. So I just think that whether or not we want to allow people to have that kind of an opportunity, do we want to have on site? The owners have to be on site. There's all kinds of different provisions that need to be looked at. And there's plenty of laws out there to choose from or to, steal from. So I'm happy to be involved, but I also think I'd like to give other board members an opportunity if they want. And I think we should maybe draw in some people. We don't have to decide it tonight, but I definitely think this is something that needs to be addressed. Because it's coming. You want to? Oh, hi. Thank you.
Just Airbnbs?
Maybe.
So Helen, thank you very much for volunteering. So Helen and Ann, and maybe the 2 of you can put your heads together and figure out who else might be, you don't need a big committee. You just need enough to sort of have be able to have some conversations. So.
I know my sister lives down in Apelia, and across the street from where she lives, they have one. It's like an apartment, and she says people walk in and out there all the time. They're in their yard.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're all over.
Well,
Well, thank you. So, the only thing left before executive session is public comment, and I know Debbie's on here, so,
I have the end date for the assessor term. You'd asked for,
oh, yes,
it's 9/30/2025.
okay. So, okay. So,
Did we have any highway bills? I only have general fund bills.
Oh, I found the folder right.
Okay,
no, and BR wants the ones that he needs to sign to be put in his mailbox, and he'll get them tomorrow morning. He'll sign.
so
He
you
hasn't
want me to
signed.
process the checks then?
You can't process it, he hasn't signed
I
them.
think it's this whole folder right here.
Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Oh, couple more trips. Goodie.
Can't believe you're still working on that. Are you, do you want to, you have comment?
Yeah.
Come on up. I'm sorry that I cut you off earlier, but it just wasn't an appropriate time to bring that up, so.
Well, I'm Debbie Grenier, I'm 20th Cemetery Road, 35-year resident, and the signs for the solar farms, the pro solar farm had a town phone number listed on it. And I saw them like on Sweet Road, 91. I'm just wondering what's up with that. But it has a town phone number.
That's, we don't have anything to do with those signs.
Got the phone number. Have you been getting calls?
I got one phone call. Somebody asked about it and I said they weren't counted signs.
Okay. Well, they're on Bill Osakowski's property and they're on the other property, on 91 and also on Sweet Road.
It was probably, if I had to guess, it was probably people or either Bill or whoever saying, if you're in support, call the town. That's probably what he was doing, but we have nothing to do with that.
And you asked me to take them down since they've got your phone number on it?
It's not my phone number, it's the clerk.
It's the town's phone number.
It's a Paul's phone number. It's not even, it's my I mean, someone had to dial my extension to get to me.
I think it implies it's that the town is supporting it and the town is promoting it. That's what the impression I got. So I don't think it's really ethical. Meanwhile, there are signs against the solar farms. And one was on a board member's property and he was asked by you, I'm the town attorney, to take the sign down.
Well,
And I want to know if that's,
Yeah, but it was on his property. Now, I don't have a sign on my property that's in support of or opposed to anything. Plus, that sign was very misleading. It made it sound like the town board was opposed. But he was asked to take it down because it's.
First Amendment issue, if someone, and I believe he's representing his constituents that had been concerned. Probably, I would guess the residents that are having the solar farm built around their surrounding their properties on three sides. That's what my guess is. I don't know for sure.
I would,
But,
well, they have a
I
sign
think
up.
that
on those
First
signs.
Amendment issue would be that he would have the right to represent his constituents, and I'm against the solar farm, as you well know, I just spoke against it. And that I support him or anyone who wants to put up a sign that anywhere in the town.
Have you read the town's code of ethics?
What is?
Are you speaking for the board member?
No, I'm not speaking for the town board, but I'm saying that I didn't name his town board member. I am just outraged because I heard that a town board member was asked to take the sign down off their property. And there's signs all over the town that, you know, people have the right to put signs up. And people who own the property can put a sign up that they want to. I mean, obviously Bill Osakowski can.
You know,
Of any sign.
Bill Osakowski is not an elected official in the town. There's a code of ethics that relates to elected officials, and I would suggest you read it because when I talked to James about this, it was out of my concern that he was going to get jammed up and be criticized for taking a position on an issue that the town board had not yet even addressed at a public hearing. And he can confirm that that was why I said.
I believe it's intimidating. I mean, it's intimidating to have a town attorney go after you.
Nobody's going after anybody, Debbie.
Okay.
Nobody.
Well, I mean, he was threatened, I believe. I mean, he was told. A town attorney.
Debbie, are you saying he told you he was threatened?
No,
So
absolutely not.
then you know nothing about the conversation.
And if you believe the town attorney talked to him, you'd be wrong because I didn't.
Okay, so there is a law that says that a person cannot put up a sign, a certain kind of sign?
No, there is a code of ethics. It is unethical for an elected town official to take a position on a matter. It's a matter of public trust. If he hasn't even heard from the public yet, and there's a sign on his property that is taking a position on that issue, that's unethical. And that's in our code. And it's broader than a sign.
I don't know that it's, it has the perception of a town board member taking a position on something that really he hasn't voted on yet. So
And I had the perception when I saw Bill Osikowski sign the pro solar with the town clerk phone number, I had the perception that the town was backing the solar farms.
I didn't even notice that I've seen those signs. I honestly, the coloration, I didn't even know there was a
It's
phone
the phone
number.
number, I mean, I'm sure you recognize it.
It's in the weeds. Have you seen where he's put them? They're in the
One
weeds.
person who called me said that she had to pull over to see the phone number.
And I can talk to him about it, but it has nothing to do with this.
Well, I just think it's
number behind
related,
it or not?
you know, pro and poor.
No, it isn't because it's not an elected
I don't
official
know what
that's
the
got.
sign says. I mean, if the sign says we support solar, if you support solar, please call this number and let them know. That's different than,
What the resident told me is that if you want more information regarding solar, please call this number. She goes, I literally had to pull over and walk because I couldn't see the number. It was so small. I'm just calling to see. And I told her everything's on the website. We're having a public hearing tonight. It's
Here's
not
my
a town Sunday.
concern. Here's my concern, Deb, so you understand, because this town does have a code of ethics. Two provisions that I thought applied. A town employee shall not by his conduct give reasonable basis for the impression that any person can improperly influence him or unduly enjoy his favor in the performance of his official duties, or that he is affected by the kinship, rank, position, or influence of any party or person. That's number one. The second provision, each town employee, and town employee is defined in here to include elected officials. Each town employee shall endeavor to pursue a course of conduct that will not raise suspicion among the public that he is likely to be engaged in acts that are in violation of his trust. The trust that the public puts in him, that he is being fair and impartial and waiting to hear the evidence before he acts. That's why I called him. That's why I was concerned. And that's why I told him it would, he didn't have to take the sign down, but I told him it was in his best interests to remain impartial, to remain neutral. He told me at the time he hadn't made up his mind. So
I just thought it was
I just think it's odd that we're talking around the person who's.
Yes,
I know, that's what I'm
listening to the whole story.
Well, I didn't name an official, but you did, but whatever, so, you know. But anyway, does that also apply to like elections when there's
no,
an election?
political
So
signs are allowed to, that's a completely
so
different.
political signs, like a person, anyone on the board can put any political sign they want. How about town property? Can you put it on town property?
No,
Well, it was.
it wasn't hot, Debbie, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Your sign,
No, Deb, you know what?
you and Bell Life signs are both on the town property, right? here.
That's not town property.
This isn't the town property?
That
It was
is
the right of way.
state right away.
Oh,
I know you talked to the election official about it and she told you that.
She
So
didn't tell me it was the right of way.
she told you it was fine where it was.
Okay.
So let's not make issues out of nothing.
Well, you know,
No,
everyone has their opinion, whether it's nothing or not. Post office, this also applies to the post office, because it's.
right, it's
Right away.
public property,
Okay, it's good to know. So anyone can put a sign up there. They don't have to ask permission.
not at the not at the post office.
On a right of way.
So on
Right
this,
away.
this town line, just for future reference, you know, for any elections. Any signs can go on the right of way of the town property.
It's on the right of way. It's not the town's property. The right of way is the state.
Okay, it's good to know. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I'm just learning this for the first time. Thank you.
Can I?
Yes, you can.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
My name's been brought up here a few times.
Sorry, Jay.
First of all, as far as the signs are concerned, whether it's for or against, I looked at them as public information. I will openly say that I was approached, can I put a sign? And I will honestly say, if I was approached by the other, can I put a sign? I probably would have allowed it also because I want public input. I want the public to know what is going on. I want people to show up. I want people to talk. I want people to write. I want them to email their opinions on this for and against. I will openly say, yes, and I'm not afraid to say it. I very much think that the Stacers and the Bombs have some very serious concerns there, and they are, I believe they're legitimate. However, my mind is not made up on that, but I'm not worried about a sign being up there, and if there's signs that are saying, I would assume for it, I would assume that they'd be signs saying, contact your town officials if you are for the solar, and I believe that's the same thing that the sign there was saying, if you were against it, contact your board members, show up at the meeting. That's where I was at with it. I did, you know, Renee, I agree that it probably didn't look so well, and I had it taken down. I was not intending any kind
No,
of particular public
was concerned
statement
about
with it
you.
or against it. And they came to, you know, it took down, and that's the end of it, but that was my, seeing how my name has been brought up, that was my intent, was to get public, you know, to let the public know it's on, it was not in front of my house, it's on a main highway near the town hall. I want the public to know what's going on with the solar. I want everybody to comment. I want to hear it. I want emails. I want everything I want to see the whole thing.
James, I don't have any problem with that, but as a board member, you have got to appear neutral.
And I
That
took
was
it
not-
down,
I
and you
know.
told me, you brought it to my attention, and I took it down and I agreed, so I'm not gonna.
Okay, and we need to go into executive session, so I'm gonna make a motion that we retire to executive session to discuss a medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Do I have a second? Second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
How do you want me to handle vouchers since you didn't approve them and some of them I'm not taking?
Oh. These are the rest of the ones.
Yeah, you said these highway ones need to go in.
they need to be put in
BR.
the highway box. For BR to sign. He said he'd sign them tomorrow before he gets back to his Ithaca conference.
You
So-
want us to make a motion?
We can approve the ones that the towns.
Well, you want me to write one set of checks and then write another set of checks? They want to do that physically. And who will contact me when these are ready for me? to-
I
Get 'em?
I mean, I don't mind letting you know. You know,
Can you wait a day and just do them all together?
I can wait a week if you want. I mean,
don't
right
wanna-
now I can't do anything because they're not approved.
Yeah, well,
But we can't, we have to approve them tonight, or we have to have a special meeting.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the payment of the.
Well, you're in a gala session.
When we come out, we're gonna have to do it.
Oh, you're right.
Tim, do I have to stay or will you email me?
I'll email you.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have to keep this going?
we have to turn we're not gonna make a decision on anything, so we come out, we're just gonna adjourn.
Yeah.
I can cut it down.
We have to do is like a section and approve those.
No, well, after executive session, we're gonna make a motion.
To approve the
to
bills.
approve the bill.
All right, and can we turn that off and we'll go in the other?
I'm shutting this off.